ITV and via live stream, and call the May 16, 2023 regular meeting to order with all board members present. The Army JROTC Color Guard from Morse High School will now present the colors. Please stand for the presentation of the colors. Trustee. Trustee Cotoriano, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Dr. Whitehurst Payne and a second by Trustee Nepomuceno. Let's have our student members vote on that. Trustee Cotoriano?
Aye.
Trustee Nepomuceno?
Aye.
And everyone else? Okay, that motion passes unanimously with our student board members concurring. Oh. Okay. You're up, Marty.
Today's meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting that is conducted in public, and board members will not engage in a dialogue with members of the audience. Board Bylaw 1025 sets the time limit for public comment on agenda items at 10 minutes per side, pro and con, or 20 minutes total. Speakers will be able to provide testimony at the beginning of the appropriate agenda item or at the end of the meeting for non-agenda public comment. The list of public speakers is attached to agenda item B2. Please listen for your name to be called. Speakers are listed and called in the order received. When your name is called, please come to the podium to speak. Speakers participating via Zoom will be asked to unmute when their name is called. If you are unable to unmute yourself, we will call the next speaker. Zoom does not allow staff to access your personal device to unmute a speaker. Please follow along with the agenda so that you know when your item is coming up for discussion. If you would like to sign up for in-person public comment, iPads are available in the back of the auditorium and in the lobby.
Thank you, Marty. Now I'd like to ask Pacific Beach Elementary School students, Sage Westry, Anna Fedek, Kendall Haggerty, Yulissa Cabrales, Delgado, Olivia Spencer, Sienna Natividad, and Angelina Doyle to come to the podium to introduce tonight's student presentation.
Good evening, Superintendent Jackson, President Bazo, trustees, and district staff. My name is Sage Westray, and I am a fifth grader from Pacific Beach Elementary. I am the president of our school's Leadership Club. In the Leadership Club, we assist the school in bucket-filling activities such as fundraisers or spirit days. This year, we had a food drive with proceeds going to the San Diego Food Bank, and last year, we raised over $1,200 for Ukrainian refugees at the Ukrainian Cultural Center in Los Angeles. Pacific Beach Elementary has a school safety patrol. It teaches responsibility and promotes safety. We use military ranks for each patrol student. I'm a major, the highest of my school. Our school uses the 7 habits of Leader in Me to create a happy and healthy balance in our everyday lives. Right now, we are focusing on seeking first to understand, then to be understood. In another school program, Penguin Squad, we have 4th and 5th graders monitoring recess on different days of the week. We help with conflicts, make sure that everything is resolved, and write down any issues that need to be taken care of. Pacific Beach Elementary, or PBE, is a STEAM school. We have a vision that our students will be inquisitive problem solvers, empathetic leaders, and positive change agents. This year, we celebrated Computer Science Week. We had the opportunity to learn Scratch coding and program Sphero robots. We learned binary code and creative building as well. During my time as a student at PBE, I enjoyed doing multiple other STEAM-related activities, such as shark dissections in science, the tide pool field trips, and the stock market game in mathematics. That math was essential in the stock market game, which us 5th graders at PBE participated in. Now here is Anna with more on what the stock market game is.
Good evening. I'm Anna Fedok, and I'd like to share about the stock market game. It is a stock market challenge that students in grades 4 through 12 can participate in. Each student gets to learn how economics and investing play a role in the game. The spring competition began on January 30th and was finished 12 weeks later on April 21st. Each team received a pretend $100,000. We were allowed to invest $20,000 into 5 different companies. Every Tuesday for those 12 weeks, we would monitor our stocks for gains or losses. We also learned that there are connections between the news that's going on in the world with the prices of our stocks. 2 of the stock market teams from our school will be sharing about what they learned and how their teams performed.
My name's Elisa Cabrales, and my group coined Stockers agreed to invest in stocks that we liked. We researched companies that we have seen on the internet. We invested in Dick's Sporting Goods, Coca-Cola, Spotify, Amazon, and Booz Hamilton holding companies. At first, our stocks weren't doing very well, but over time, they did better. For most of the time, our stocks went up, but they did go down once in a while. I absolutely loved working with my teammates, and we did very well together. We all agreed where to invest in the money.
My name is Angelina Doyle, and I'm a member of Money Money Honey. We chose the stocks that were most popular at the time. We invested in McDonald's, Elf, Apple, Monster, and PepsiCo. The companies performed well, but once in a while they went down a bit. We worked well as a team and stuck together the whole time. We picked one stock each and then picked additional ones that we agreed on. If it wasn't that great of a stock, we'd pick a different one. For example, I wanted to invest in Coca-Cola, but we ended up doing PepsiCo instead.
Good evening. I am Olivia Spencer, and before the stock market game, I knew a bit about stocks because my mom bought me a stock in Disney about 2 years ago. She said investing in a company would make me some money each year, and it did. After doing the stock market game, I learned that the value of stocks is always changing. Some days it will be down, and other times it will be up. Before doing the stock market game, I didn't know that people invested in stocks every single day. Now I know a lot more from participating in the stock market game.
Hello, my name is Kendall Haggerty, and while playing the stock market game, I learned a lot. First of all, I learned how shares work and how to read a stock graph. We also learned that when you invest in stocks, you get a share, which is a percentage of a company. You can earn or lose money in the stock market. In my group's case, we earned a lot of money.
Hi, my name is Sienna Natividad, and I didn't have very much knowledge about the stock market before participating in the stock market game. I barely knew anything, but after doing the stock market game, I learned a lot. For example, how to spend and save money wisely and how to invest in stocks. This really helped me during the game, as I really understood stocks after participating in the stock market game.
As you can see, we are very proud to announce that the 2 stock market teams who spoke this evening took first and second place in San Diego County's elementary division of the stock market game. And my team, which includes Angelina and Sienna and I, finished in 10th place overall, including all high schools and middle schools in the San Diego County.
Thank you all for listening. Going back to the idea of STEAM, you are all invited to join us at our Pacific Beach Elementary STEAM Night. That is tomorrow, May 17th, from 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. If you are not available, we also have an open house on Wednesday, May 31st, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., where our 5th grade students will be presenting their science fair projects for everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for that, and I love the girl power here. It's awesome. And I think I need to get some investment information from you guys. That'd be helpful. That was fantastic, yes. Dr. Jackson said we all do. Anyone have any other comments? Or?
I think they said it all. I'm Jennifer Grondick, the very proud principal of PB Elementary, and there are so many amazing things that happen at our school, and these young women are a small slice of that, so thank you.
I'd like to say something. I want to say congratulations to them because it is a fun game, and I would advise everybody to try it in real life. Yes, you can do that. I call it a play account where you just play with it and you're not concerned about whether you lose anything on it, but it's good. That's how people gain wealth and increase rather than putting it in a bank for 2% or 1% or whatever. So give it a shot. Try it.
Can you tell that she was a math teacher?
Oops.
Trustee Nepomuceno.
I would like to second that congratulations. I'm currently a high school senior and I'm learning about the stock market and economics just until now. So now that you're learning about it at this age is so impressive, and building that personal finance and literacy is something that will help you for the rest of your lives. So thank you for your presentation today.
We did the stock market game at La Jolla High School when I was there, but it ended with a great stock market crash, and it scarred me for life. Do we want to get a photo here with the students?
Sure. Okay. Okay, we have no reportable actions from today's closed session, so we're going to move on to agenda item D2. Dr. Jackson, are there any administrative assignments to report?
Thank you, President Bazo. Yes, we have 3 this evening. I will be appointing the following. Principal, Bay Park Elementary School, Melissa Roy Wood. Congratulations. Program Manager, Teaching and Learning, Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, we have Akoni DeRidge. Yes, give it up. We got a staff that's just excited about this team, right? Program Manager, Teaching and Learning, Comprehensive Support Improvement, Eileen Moreno. Congratulations. Those are the appointments this evening, President Bazo.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. So at this time, I'd now like to have our ASB students, Jasmine Castro from Lincoln High and Aaron on from iHigh Virtual Academy to introduce themselves and tell us about yourselves and what's going on at your schools as we come up against the end of the year. Who do we want to start with? You want to start over here, Aaron?
Hi, my name is Aaron An. I'm both the senior and the ASB president at iHigh. iHigh has been around for 15 years, but due to the COVID pandemic, we opened up a K-12 2 years ago. Elementary ASB at iHigh made a significant impact through 2 initiatives. They led a month-long kindness campaign promoting compassion and empathy. Additionally, they organized a virtual gaming meetup to support socially isolated students, fostering peer interaction and a sense of belonging. These initiatives contributed to a positive and inclusive school environment. The middle school ASB at iHigh played a pivotal role in building school spirit and a healthy culture. They organized events like the Pumpkin Patch, honored teachers and parents, and explored careers at the Air and Space Museums. Their efforts not only positively impacted the school, but also fostered friendships and developed leadership skills among students. The high school ASB at iHigh did their annual donation drive for the Monarch School. The middle school also played a pivotal role in this drive, helping organize and count all the donations at the end of this month. We're going to host our 2nd annual art showcase and talent via Zoom webinar. The judges are not from our school, but are important community members who support online learning and our wonderful students. I'd like to give a special shout out to Delana from Star 94.1 for being a judge for 2 years in a row. I started at iHigh during the pandemic and stayed due to the flexible schedule it offers. We're on a 4x4 AB schedule, which allows our students to take more classes at the high school level or work or enjoy all the beautiful things San Diego has to offer. I'm grateful iHigh has given me the opportunity to be successful. I'm in the process of deciding where to go to college, either UCSC or UC Merced. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. Congratulations. And now we'll go over to Jasmine.
Good afternoon to everyone on the board. My name is Jasmine Castro, and I'm the ASB president at Lincoln High School. To start my report, here's academics. As Lincoln has partnered with San Diego City College, students are able to earn college credits as high schoolers. Students are offered college classes like English 101, communication, psychology, health, Chicano studies, Black studies. Lincoln started a pathway program not too long ago, and it includes the School of Medicine and Human Services, School of Engineering, Design, and Innovation, School of Media Arts, Production, and Entertainment, and the last one being 9th Grade Center for On-Track Success. This helps students get an introduction to different careers. In the pathway, students have 2 to 3 different classes where they work together on a common theme and project that they exhibit at the end of the semester. Since so many students have a really big interest in AP classes, we are looking to expand our current course offerings for the next school year. Over 700 students qualified for the honor roll recognition. This year, we started a new partnership with City College called Workforce Wednesdays, where different certificate and professional programs came to campus to present to students on how they could earn the right credentials for certain professions. This program was very popular, averaging among 50 students per session. Next on to athletics. ISB paid a lot of attention towards student sections, game themes, fundraisers, spirit buses, sports pep rallies, and senior nights for all sports throughout each season, since athletics played such a big role at Lincoln. Our cross country competed in CIF against schools all over the San Diego County. Our varsity football team won the Open Division, CIF Championship, Regionals, and the State Championship. Many of our football players were nominees for plenty of different awards that were presented by KUSI Pigskin Report. Roderick Robinson won Offensive Player of the Year and the Silver Pigskin Award. Josiah Cox won Defensive Player of the Year, and Charlie Hines was selected as a 2023 Scholar Athlete Leader Scholarship winner. During the winter, our boys soccer team became City Central League champions. Our boys basketball won the City League, going all 8 games undefeated. They also became D2 champions. Track and field had 3 City League champions, and we had them advance to finals this Saturday. Boys lacrosse just won our City League, and boys baseball won their 2nd league championship in a row. Girls softball qualified for the playoffs for the first time in a while and turned it around last year's season with 0 wins. Our badminton team went undefeated throughout the league, making them City League champions. We have also had a few players heading off to play in regionals. During the fall, ASB hosted mini carnivals full of games, food trucks, music, and other fun activities for our students as well as our community before football games on Friday nights. This year's homecoming was a huge hit with over 300 students. Lincoln hasn't had this many people at a homecoming since before COVID-19. ASB also hosted things like club expos, various spirit weeks, spring egg hunts, lunchtime activities, foodie fest, fundraisers, and etc. One last thing that I'm really proud to talk about at Lincoln is we hosted our first blood drive in so long, and as 15 people donating doesn't seem like a lot, it helps a lot of people in need, and it's something that we're hoping to carry out through the next years. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine and Aaron. Now, not to put you on the spot, but do you have plans for the fall?
I'm a senior, so I'm gonna be at UCSD in the fall on full ride with the Chancellor Scholarship.
Awesome. Oh, that's amazing. We know you'll represent us proudly. Congratulations. Very excited. All right. Moving on, we are at our superintendent's information report. Dr. Jackson, please provide your information.
Thank you, President Bazo. This evening, I want to start with appreciation. During the month of May, we historically and based on the calendar celebrate our educators, our staff. I want to appreciate our staff. And, you know, not just in the month of May, but each and every day for what they do, how they show up, how they are for our students, the difference they're making in the lives of leaders today and our future leaders. And I think we can all agree that we had teachers in our lives who made a difference for us. And now we have an opportunity to work with a collective group of educators and staff for the betterment of our students. And I'm full of hope and appreciation. And this evening I want to start with appreciation, with a lot of love for those who do what they do each and every day. And I know for me personally, my life has changed because of the teachers that I had. So thank you to all of our educators, all of our staff, for not only what you do, but how you be. And we appreciate that. Thank you so much. The second point that I want to make is a congratulations to our new trustees. And certainly, Leah, you have done an amazing job, and I thank you. And I wish you nothing but the best as you go off to GW. They're in for a treat. And at the same time, I want to say congratulations to our current trustee, Kitoriano, and I look forward to our work in the future. Yes, give it up. And I also want to give a shout out, and I'm going to have you stand, yes, so that everyone can see you. Our newest trustee, Trustee Blessin Lavender Williams. Thank you so much for being here this evening, and congratulations to both of you. I know San Diego High School, Lincoln High School, and all of our schools will be represented to the fullest, and I'm so looking forward to this. I do want to give a shout out to, well, I don't think I need to lift her up, but I will. Stacy Siders, I think she was here. Yep. So, Stacy, and I did see Lorena back there. I think I see Lorena. Thank you. And to Trustee Nepomuceno, our board elections this year was so powerful and amazing. And we're going to also hear from Michael, who was a candidate, and congratulations to him. And I know he's going to continue to be a leader in this district. All of our amazing students, thank you for being the leaders of today, and congratulations. A celebration, I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but, or Vice President Hazen, I know we were at Roosevelt. We were at Roosevelt celebrating the centennial of Roosevelt Middle School now, but was junior high school. And what a great program they have at Roosevelt, and so congratulations to them. Also, to all of our district teachers of the year, runners-up, and again, all of our teachers, we celebrated them. And looking forward to celebrating our classified employees of the year coming up. And just, we are surrounded by great folks, from students to our adults. I also want to give an appreciation to David Alvarez, our assembly person Alvarez, who met with us. We had an opportunity to talk about our budget, the most recent May revise that came out, and just our advocacy for more money in the base, more money for our students, more money for our staff, more money to continue the work and our commitment to our students, particularly those who are our earliest learners, our students with disabilities, and students who have been historically marginalized. We need support. And we also met with Senator Laird, and we talked to the senator regarding the budget as well. With all of our large urban superintendents from LAUSD to Long Beach, Sac City, Fresno, this was a great focus to articulate that we do not want mid-year adjustments as proposed by the governor. We want to continue to see our arts block grants funded, as well as our learning recovery block grant. And we will continue to advocate for our district, for other districts who support our most marginalized students. And so I know that this is a difficult time. I know we heard from our educators this evening, our staff folks, and we remain committed to them and to our students. That is my report this evening, and I leave you with the spirit of Ubuntu. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. And now we will give each board member the opportunity to speak and share information if they wish. And please be mindful of the 2-minute limit for each trustee.
Am I supposed to go 2 minutes too?
Yes. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, he's not.
2
Okay.
minutes. I'm supposed to go 2 minutes. Sorry.
Marty said you did, that's okay, but.
I'll go 2 minutes in the
Okay,
future.
2 minutes. All right, I don't know where we shall start. You want to start with trustee Nepomuceno?
Thank you, President Bazo. So as Superintendent Jackson mentioned earlier, I'd like to once again congratulate our student board member-elects, Matthew Catoriano, San Diego High School, and Blessing Lavender Williams of Lincoln High School. I'd also like to express a lot of appreciation for the folks who helped us surprise our elects, both at their school and also at their home, which was very fun. And I'd like to especially thank Trustee Dr. Whitehurst Payne, as well as Trustee Barrera, who helped us express appreciation and also surprise our student board member-elects. Additionally, I'd like to thank Stacy Siders and Lorena Ford, who played such integral parts, an integral role in the election process. And most importantly, all of our student board member candidates. I was blown away by all of them. They're all highly qualified and passionate students who I have no doubt will play integral parts in change within the school district and student advocacy. So I'd like to thank everyone a part of our student board member 2023-2024 elections. Additionally, in the spirit of appreciation and the month of May, I've had the incredible opportunity to attend a lot of events, including Roosevelt Middle School Centennial Celebration, as well as the Arab and Muslim Community Leaders and Dignitary event, where there were very important conversations and discussions surrounding teaching 9/11 with compassion and rethinking the way that we teach topics in order to ensure that all students feel included and safe within those discussions. Additionally, there are many VAPA events, including the SUSD Honors Art Reception, as well as the Elementary Musicians Debut Day Concert, both of which were outstanding events. Most recently, we also had our last Police Youth Advisory Committee meeting, and I'd like to especially thank Chief Contreras, as well as all the staff who were involved in making this committee possible. It's been amazing to have discussions surrounding gun violence prevention, all the way to the interpersonal relationships between campus police and students. So thank you so much to everyone involved with these events.
Thank you, trustee Nepomuceno, and we will move things over to trustee Catoriano.
Thank you. I just again like to start by saying a huge thank you and congratulations to Blessin and all the other individuals that helped put together the election. It blew me away, and I don't think you, Trustee Nepomuceno, give yourself enough credit for how much you created such a successful event. It was amazing. I don't think we could have done it without you. Last Wednesday, we had an opportunity to paint in very broad strokes in our student advisory board meeting the role that screens play in classrooms, and we thought about at a very high level the impact that it has on students. And it was really amazing to see so many students so passionate about an issue that's often seen, and discussions are often held in a condescending manner. And to have this conversation in a positive and inclusive light was incredibly inspirational for all of us. I again like to thank Jen for inviting me to have a great time listening in designing for a meaningful graduation, listening to what are our options to make sure that we're ensuring the success of all students, but also ensuring flexibility for students to explore their own path. A few weeks ago, I also had an amazing opportunity to be included and help facilitate a discussion at Crawford High School through their Say San Diego program about the classes that are offered, college supports, and ensuring that students have classes on campus that they want to take, they're excited to take, but also receiving the supports that they need for that. It's an incredibly hard discussion that we had, but it was good to see that. It was amazing to see such a grassroots movement moving in such powerful ways. Last week, I also had an opportunity to speak to the California School Board Association and give feedback about our last California Student Board Member Conference. The conference that we had, I really appreciated the work that CSBA put into supporting our student board members, and I also appreciated that they recognized that we had a lot more work to do, and I was very glad that I was invited into that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cotoriano, and let's move back over to Trustee Dr. Whitehurst-Payne.
Actually, I would like to request that the next time I present maybe 3 or 4 minutes and to forego it today, because on this past Friday, I had the opportunity to go up to March Air Force Base and see the buses that we donated as a school district. See them loaded on the plane from volunteer military folks. And then we actually now have the video clip from them being received there in Haiti. And it's something that I think they want to get out, the military retirees or our reservists want to get out, that they are seeking opportunities to do that. We've now sent 6 buses. We have an additional 4 buses that we'd like to send, and to see the beauty from the children's perspective. So I'm requesting that time the next regular board meeting to present that with pictures and the whole bit.
All
so
right.
I will yield now.
Thank you, Dr. Whitehurst-Payne, and we'll go to Trustee Barrera.
I'll just add my congratulations to Blessin and Matthew. Very much look forward to working with both of you, and of course to Trustee Nepomuceno for your leadership. We'll have plenty of time to talk about your leadership in the whole time as a student board member, but specifically your leadership in making this election happen and allowing student voice to come through. So thank you. Congrats. Thank you. Blessin and Matthew. Yeah.
All right, Trustee Pedersen.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First of all, Aaron and Jasmine, thank you so much for your presentation. I'd be remiss if I didn't note that I believe IHI's, the site teacher of the year is here today. Can we give a round of applause to Megan Hughes? And we did, I guess it was last week or the week before last? This is like there's some weird time warp happening, but we, either last week or the week before, had the Teacher of the Year celebration. And I spent a couple days recovering my serotonin because it was so moving. It was, I think folks who were there know what I'm talking about. All 6, we had the 3 elementary, middle, and high school Teacher of the Year and the runners-up. it was the stories they told of their work were really overwhelming, and it brought home to me. I've been in a political world and an administrative world in which people do their jobs, and but to see these teachers who are called to a sort of higher calling every single day by their students was truly remarkable. I left very moved and sort of renewed my awe of the teaching profession and my commitment, and I think the whole board's commitment to make our educators and paraeducators and staff whole. So, and I just want to also say we, Lamont, the superintendent and I were able to go to Crown Point Junior Music Academy for the groundbreaking on their the whole site modernization. But we also had a little celebration a couple days before that for Stephen Lux, Steve Lux, who passed away last year. But he really started the Suzuki program there. And I think the more we can use our VAPA funds to get more music education, it doesn't just help produce musicians, it helps cognitive development, social-emotional development, and confidence. So very excited about that program there. And then finally, I'm very excited to see a hire for our director of multi-tiered system of supports. There's a lot of conversations in the public, certainly my constituents are often talking about behavior and various ways of dealing with discipline. It's clear that the California multi-tiered system of supports is really a key to fixing the rungs that may be missing in our system and really getting a way of helping students that are struggling and also helping to make classrooms safer and more supportive for all students. I'm very excited about that hire and really would love as a board to recommit ourselves to implementing California MTSS. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Trustee Pedersen. And Stephen Lux was my daughter's string teacher in elementary school, so yes, love him. So now we will move to Trustee Hazen, and she's been really good in like timing herself. Wow.
And I do want to echo Trustee Pedersen, because we talk a lot about making sure students are safe, secure, supported, thinking both about how we do it in a restorative context and the role of MTSS. So really appreciate you lifting that up, and we know that we have really important work to do in that regard. Also want to welcome our newly elected returning trustee and our new trustee, Blessin. Really excited to continue working with you and to work with you, and appreciate the work again of Trustee Nepomuceno, everything you've done to bring student voice to the work we do. And of course, our educators. We, as you heard, celebrated educators at Teacher of the Year, but there are so many Teachers of the Year in all of our classrooms doing incredible things to support our students, and want to recognize all of them and really all of our staff. And over the last few weeks, since our last meeting, I've had the opportunity to have a lot of really candid conversations with educators, administrators, parents. I see parents here in the audience with us today, community partners, about everything from promoting a sense of belonging and building resilience to improving literacy outcomes. And as I've reflected on all of those conversations, one of the things that struck me is how our conversations and our work and outcomes really begin to shift when we truly center what we do around the needs of students and their families. So as a district, we have reoriented ourselves with students at the center, and it's exciting to see what happens when we make that work real. And so really appreciate the work of all of our staff, our leaders, our parents, our partners who are helping us to achieve that vision. And just briefly want to share that I had the opportunity to visit SCPA and meet with their leadership, their educators, their students. And I felt there this culture that they described as something designed to love and lift students. And it wasn't just something that I felt, it was not just a catchphrase, it was something that was a strategy, and they described how their Tier 1 instruction is focused on building community, creating belonging, and helping students to build self-efficacy. And so I would love to see how we can do that in more places so that more students feel that sense of connection and belonging.
Great, thank you. That wasn't bad, only 1 minute over. You weren't the only one. And I'm not going to time myself, so you guys can cut me off if you need to. But I'll also try to be brief and want to also congratulate our incoming, existing and incoming student representatives. And also to say thank you, echo the gratitude for Trustee Nepomuceno and Stacy Cedars. Oh, I think she left, but thank you to both of them. And I also wanted to say thank you to all the students that actually voted too, because you know that's what the student voice is all about. So thank you to all of our students who participated in the election to have that representation. And briefly, I attended two schools in the Kearney cluster. The Kearney cluster is actually a new cluster for me starting in January, and I was finally very excited to be able to get over to Chesterton and Ross Elementary this past week. Chesterton Elementary is a school that has over 50% of the students in our military. So they have a lot of challenges in terms of single parent families. They have a lot of students that have their parents going out in deployment, but they also have a really strong network there. They have a lot of support and a lot of ways that they're helping the students there deal with these particular challenges that a lot of our students don't I guess we take for granted the fact that what our military families go through every day. And so it opened my eyes a little bit more to that. So I was very appreciative to get over there. And then at Ross Elementary, they are doing a lot of amazing things. Also in the Kearney cluster, they set up a series of parent workshops, and they have their school counselor working with the parents that are coming in, and they've had really strong success. If any of you that have, as parent volunteers, have tried to get parents to come at night. They have dinner. They set up a whole workshop around different issues that our parents and guardians are dealing with helping the students, and they've had a lot of great success in terms of attendance. And it was the cutest thing, and I'm bad about bringing pictures, but I'll hopefully have some by the next meeting. They were planning a tea. And so they're going to have a tea, and they had, everything set up with the little cute, set up with the cakes, and the UTK classes are going to do I'm a Little Teapot, and it was just very cute, but also a way for the students to just kind of engage in a different way with and they're inviting the parents to come to that as well. So just some fun things that are happening in our community, but also things that mean a lot to our students and that they'll remember. And ways to connect those communities within our schools. So just wanted to share my visits with those two schools, and I think we're ready to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one thing, we
yes.
didn't mention Zach. Zachary is back from school, and he's properly chastened after a year at Duke University.
Oh.
He came and had lunch with us.
She just wanted to give a shout out to Duke.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Trustee Whitehurst-Payne. We'll now hear item E1, the LCAP update on Universal Transitional Kindergarten. Superintendent Jackson and staff, please present the item.
Thank you, President Bazo. And I'd like to introduce Stephanie Saminsky, our Director of Child Development Programs, and Marceline Shuto, who is our Senior Director of Neighborhood Schools and Enrollment Options. They will be presenting our update on Universal Transitional Kindergarten. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you, Superintendent Jackson and Board of Education. I'm Stephanie Saminsky.
Marceline Shuto.
And we are presenting on Universal Transitional Kindergarten LCAP goal number 3, accelerating student learning with high expectations for all. So we believe in the long-term investment in the educational system by building equitable schools that ultimately support closing the gap with the vision of helping students transition to the kindergarten learning context. We believe in promising opportunities to significantly improve outcomes for our early learners. We believe that students have the ability, the capacity, and the brilliance to meet and exceed any expectation we set for them. And we believe we can positively impact the academic and developmental trajectory of students by engineering joyful, rigorous, instructional, and physical conditions designed with purpose. Listed on this slide is our LCAP 22-23 goals. And we promised to promote kindergarten readiness through the California Preschool Learning Foundations for Learning. And we maximized expertise through for the professional learning opportunities focused on early literacy, phonological awareness, early writing, beginning mathematics, social emotional development, trauma-informed practices, and inclusive settings. We cultivated leadership through professional learning pathways and career pipelines, and we provided opportunities for families to explore learning through interactive events with their child. And we also ensured equity and access to high-value programs for all 4-year-old children throughout 118 elementary school locations. Our first goal, Goal 1, Foundations for Learning, is the physical conditions that we provide our students in our classrooms. So we built strategies that are explicitly clear and include learning that is joyful, challenging, active, voluntary, self-motivating, and process-oriented for our students. We ask students to explore, ask questions, make decisions, work with their peers, and utilize creativity to build early literacy, language, mathematics, STEAM, movement play, use gross motor activities, and the visual and performing arts skills. We have children develop the social emotional skills through activities that build confidence and communication. And when these aspects are combined with academic content, the students are free to engage in a flexible manner. What I have on this slide are visual representations of these conditions. So in the first picture, we have students working on their shoulder and bicep muscles. We have a student using observational skills as part of a STEAM unit. We have a student creatively representing different weather patterns and create rainbows. We have a student using a 10 frame to explore addition problems. We have another student using fine motor and cognitive skills to create structures. We have a student using creativity through the arts to explain her thinking. We have a student using gross motor activities to build coordination and strengthen muscles. And we have students working with peers collaboratively to share an idea. This was our first year where we had a district-wide program, like I said, through 118 sites with over 4,000 students. And it was the first year where we were able to capture district-wide data as a baseline year using a phonemic awareness assessment for pre-kindergarten through the Heggerty program for all student groups. And what we were able to capture from trimester 1 to trimester 2 was showing student groups showed an average score of 21.82 out of 30. In trimester 2, we're looking at a target range of 10 to 20, so our students showed improvement. And just to note, there is 3 trimesters, so there is 1 more reporting period. Goal 2, professional learning opportunities. What I want to highlight on this slide is the goal of this was to provide avenues for educators to have professional choice in their professional learning. We didn't want to just offer stand and deliver, so we offered sessions of study. So through that, there was make, take, and teach opportunities, there was webinars, there was trainings, there was expert panels, and we focused on sessions about purposeful play, we focused on early skills, social emotional learning, assessments, interactions, and engagement. Those are just a few. We also had modeling of best practices through demonstration classrooms and coaching cycles. And there was approximately 20 elementary school sites that participated. This was on a voluntary basis that students and teachers could participate in opening their classroom doors and having teachers come and observe their practice. We also have a partnership with the California Department of Education, where we have an early educator teacher development grant that we were awarded $1 million, where educators have access to take university courses. For Goal 4, family engagements, where they explore together with their child, we have a VAPA interactive events. And what that means is that we picked sites that had a UPK continuum. So we have UPK, UTK, and what that means is for UPK, we had a preschool, XE separate setting, and a UTK classroom. And so that we had the select sites of Cherokee Point Elementary, Elcott Elementary, Cabrillo, Johnson, and Kimbrough. And this was a program where we invited a partnership with the VAPA program, and one of our art teachers, we call her our resident artist, came in and she created literacy through the arts, and she led an art activity. And families came in, and as you can see by the pictures, it was highly successful. There was so much joy and beautiful artwork that came out of this that they, Zamorano has an art show, and they highlight some of the art that came out of it. Our plan for growth is to build the capacity through these art events. And a lot of schools requested hosting another event in the fall and spring that they could host at their school. And what ends up happening is that it's the first experience that a lot of families experience at their school setting, because they are 3, 4 years old. And they are welcome into the school. We welcome them. We have translation services. We have snacks. And they build that relationship with the principals, with the teachers, with the staff, with early learning. And we're all there just having a great time. And it hooks them in. It hooks them into San Diego Unified. And they love it. They just love it. We also had a pilot program where we had a social emotional parent training at 2 of our schools in the Lincoln cluster, Valencia Park Elementary and Webster Elementary, and that was highly successful as well. So we're looking to expand that. We did have an outside person come in, but we also had internal district support services also support us with that. So we're using that pilot program to expand that as well.
Switch. Thank you, Dr. Szymanski. Good evening. I'm Marceline Shudo, Senior Director of Operations Support, and I'm going to share some information mostly about UTK enrollment, starting with equity access. And so as we move from this, our baseline year of district-wide enrollment, we made some changes for 23-24. Some adjustments to make it easier for our families. The first thing we did was we moved the window way up. If you remember last year, we did enrollment in May, and it was a lot of work. Still a lot of work, but this year we have moved it up and aligned it with the choice and the prime time application period so that parents are able to make all those applications at the same time and do better planning. We also had support from our communications team, sending out blasts and press releases so we would get lots of parents having knowledge of the enrollment process. And then in partnership with the Family Engagement Department, Neighborhood Schools and Enrollment Options, or we like to be called NSEO, held parent workshops. We had over 1,700 parents log into our Zoom workshops. That was the highest attendance for any district-run Zoom workshop that we've conducted so far. And of course, it was translated into multiple languages. We provided site administrators with template notices for their school-to-home communication efforts and provided training for site staff for the pre-enrollment process so that they could assist parents who came into the office. Maybe they didn't have access to a computer at home. They could get help at the school site. And then the centralized process here at the Ed Center is what we use to really ensure fair and equitable pre-enrollment, ensuring that we were prioritizing our students by residency, by their date of birth, and then followed by children of staff members and siblings of choice pupils. We wanted to make sure that we were doing everything fair and equitable across the district. And our NSEO teams daily are being dispatched to all schools to offer additional support if they need it, if they have questions. We still have a lot of sub-enrollment clerks and folks who are learning the system, and so we're there in person to help them out with that. This chart shows our current enrollment, which is slightly over 4,300 students, and it's by high school cluster. And so enrollment, as you can see in UTK, it's not stopping the decrease of enrollment district-wide, but it's certainly assisting with mitigating that annual enrollment decrease, and it's an investment in the future. It's an investment in future enrollment of the students that are participating and helping us to stabilize enrollment in our district. And a particular note, I think, is the high level of enrollment in the Lincoln cluster. It's very high, and we're very, very proud of that. This chart, it's kind of hard to do projections when we've only had one baseline year, so we're looking at early enrollment. So the early enrollment process that we conducted last May resulted in slightly over 3,500 students. And over the summer, we obtained about a little over 800 more, which was 24%. And that was just in the months of June, July, and August, for the grand total of 4,375. Even though we ran our early enrollment much earlier this year, we had, and that number, 4,087, which was a 15% increase from last spring, so that was very significant. And we predict that we will get close to 1,000 over the summer, and if last year's trend continues, we should have slightly over 5,000 UTK pupils for the beginning of next year. We recognize again that this is our baseline year, and our current number is outside of my notes here. I wrote down 4,100 pupils when I created this, but today I checked and we have 4,200 pre-enrolled in UTK. And we anticipate again that we'll have over 5,000 pupils. And there have been questions about, well, how many UTK kiddos live in the district? Annually, we average about 7,000 kindergartners. It's been pretty steady for the last several years. We can presume that those kindergartners were 4-year-olds the year before. So we probably have about 7,000 UTK-aged children that would be able to enroll in our schools annually. And we believe that as the program grows in popularity and parents are informed about it, we will year by year approach that 7,000 mark. So we're hoping that by 25-26, and this year will be important to watch, we should have between 6,000 and 6,500 children enrolled in UTK. And then we had some questions about, again, the number of kiddos that live in our boundaries that are UTK aged. So we do use annual birth rate data and census data to estimate the number of children that live in our boundaries. And birth rate data has been fairly consistent for the last 5 years. About 12,250 babies are born in San Diego. We expect to see an increase, I think, in 25-26 as a result of the pandemic. But we normally get about 60 to 70% of the overall child population in our district. So those are the gauges that we use to try to predict. But again, I think the program is still growing, parents are still learning about it, and we anticipate a similar enrollment pattern with UTK as what we have had with kindergarten. So the difference between UTK and kinder enrollment might be in a few years really just due to parents opting to keep their child home an extra year or keep them in a private pre-K setting. And time will tell. We charted our early enrollment in the focus clusters for your information. So the blue line shows how many children were early enrolled in our target clusters, our focus clusters, Crawford, Hoover, Lincoln, Logan Memorial, Morris, and San Diego. And you can see the red line is significantly higher for all of our target clusters, our focus clusters, with very high early enrollment in the Lincoln cluster. So we're very, very excited about that. It's about a 15% increase over last year's early enrollment and much earlier in the school year. While we offer enrollment to all children turning 4 by September 1, we're maximizing our fiscal soundness by prioritizing all 4-year-olds by date of birth so that we can get the biggest bang for our buck with and capture ADA as much as we can. So that window, as you know, expands annually. until school year 25-26, when all children enrolled in UTK will generate ADA. So for this current year, children who turn 5 by April 2nd earn ADA by for this upcoming year by April 2nd. For next year, if they turn 5 by June 2nd, they will get us ADA, and 25-26, all children. And birth rates, we don't have specific data on the children who are early enrolled for next year yet. That will come for the third Friday when we do our enrollment counts. But statistically, about 8% of the population is born every month, with the exception of August. It's closer to 9%. So we can take our grand total and sort of use some algebraic formulas to try to figure out about how much ADA we could be earning. And so we anticipate, if that 8% holds for this coming year, about 60% of the children who enroll in UTK will gain us ADA, and that will increase annually. But again, we should have the full data by the beginning of the school year. This is a map. I know it's kind of hard to see. Our district maps are not horizontal, they're vertical. But this shows you the original allocations. For this first year, during our early enrollment period, we had 135 classrooms established, a minimum of 1 per site. Due to the response to early enrollment for 23-24, we added 54 classrooms and related staff for this current school year to accommodate that enrollment. And for this upcoming year, we added an additional 23 classrooms. So we are very excited, thinking that we're going to be able to fill all those, and we're monitoring early enrollment data, and we will continue to monitor over the summer in the event we need to add even more classrooms. Leadership works closely with facilities planning and instructional facilities planning, looking at whole site modernization needs, construction coming up in certain clusters, and how many children we expect to be generated, so that we can appropriately plan for those impacts. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Szymanski.
Before I talk about this slide, I have a little story for you. This slide is really, really special. And I was in a meeting yesterday, and it was with teachers and administrators, and we had asked the educators to come, and because we wanted their feedback. And it was about this curricular resource for early learners, and it was an online tool, and we said, come join us, and it was a pilot, and it was some educators, and we said, we want your feedback, to be honest. And one of the teachers spoke up, and she said, oh my gosh, one more thing. That was her first initial, her first initial response. And then she said, that was, my first instinct is to say one more thing, but I want to add that as I listened and as I took a look at this tool, I realized how critical this was for early learners and how beneficial it would be. It was these little vignettes that would help their lessons of visual representations of social emotional learning for students to see, someone looking angry or someone showing calmness. And she said, this would be amazing to have in my classroom. And then she went on to tell her story, and she said, I've been an educator for 20 years, and I used to teach 5th and 4th grade. And I stopped, and I was listening to her, and she said, and I just moved to UTK. And then everyone stopped and listened, and then she said, yeah, all my friends asked me, were you being punished? And she said, no. I wanted to go there. And the presenter asked, what do you see? What's your biggest, what do you see? And she said, as a 5th grade teacher, I loved it, but what I noticed is, what I noticed in the deficit of what 5th graders needed, I have an opportunity to build that foundation with early learners. And this investment that San Diego is making in this program, I needed to be a part of it. And it's in her heart. And I just it stuck with me. And so as I was listening to her, it was like I was frozen. And so as the meeting ended, we hung up, and I emailed her, and I said, you know, her story just stuck with me. And I thought to myself, that's the people that's in our classrooms. I mean, that's, like you said earlier today, that's who surrounds us in our classrooms. And I thought of this slide, and I thought, we are so fortunate to have those educators in our classrooms in our UTK program. And I know it's not perfect. I know we went from 70 classrooms to 189. I know we have challenges. I know that we have growing pains. And I know we need improvement. But those educators from SDEA came together in collaboration with Early Learning, in collaboration with the district, and came together and offered solutions. And together, we have a relationship to improve this program and make it perfect. We are in the spotlight, and we will remain in the spotlight together. And so what I wanted to highlight is some implementation things that have already started, some strategies that we will continue as we grow this program and we make it a superstar, as it already is. So some of the things that we have in motion is we recognize that the need for increased support for younger learners. We know that they're 4. We know that they're really, really young. And we know that they need help. And we know that it's new. And we know that they have different social emotional needs. They have different behaviors, as you spoke earlier. And we have to find the supports for them. We know that it's a large-scale implementation that's difficult. It's difficult understanding this new grade level, from staffing, curriculum materials, and the need for more training. We know this, and we are going to find the way to offer it and create new pathways. We created expanded options for professional learning during the workday. We recognize the importance of the relationship between co-teachers. This model is amazing. We're the only ones that have it. And so we recognize that that foundation needs to start from the beginning, and we need to find ways to start from the summer so that we have opportunities, and we need to build that collaboration time. We need to find access for developmentally appropriate materials and curriculum. And as the state continues to phase in UTK to 25-26, we will continue to find ways and materials and get them to our educators. And also a specialized communications for our UTK educators. And we started that so that way they have a place to find professional development opportunities, to find materials, to find cutting edge research, a place to go just for them. And what I have lastly for you is when Marceline saw this presentation, she said, let's hand it over to who says it best, the kids. And so I have a special video for you. I don't know how does it just play?
Hi, my name is Alexa and I am in UTK. Welcome to UTK! I like math because I get to count and I love counting. So with the 10 frame, we put these little counters on. We put them on inside the squares, and then when our teacher says put on 10, we put on 10.
And then you go around. There you go. Beautiful sticks. Okay, what's the next shape? What is that? Wait, how many sides does it have?
I only know 3. I only know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Really? Like when plants start really small, like as small as a seed, because they're so cute. You could turn it to you're not right. Or you could put it in here. I thought about the robot, I drew about the robot, and I created the robot. I got this, put them together, make my own very own robot. The favorite word of the week is calm. I like learning about feeling words.
What kind of feeling words?
Frustrated, sad, and happy.
Show me happy.
I love Cass because he's my friend. And I love Isaiah because he plays with me when I'm lonely. We are farmers, and this is the sunflower. Bees come in them, they collect the pollen, they go down, and then the seeds drop. This is what good readers do. We look at the pictures, we think, and we talk about the book. All the seeds went up there, all the big seeds went flying around, but this little seed. Because I love being outside and playing on the swings. I love U2K because I get to write and draw. We love UTK!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation, and no, we don't have to do any motions yet, do we? Let's go ahead and start with some comments from the board. Trustee Barrera.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Marceline. It's just the work that you've done over the past, really, if we think about conceptualizing UTK, advocating for UTK, and now implementing it is really extraordinary. The work that you've done, and you're creating things that hadn't existed before, so I can just tell always from the excitement in the way that you present, just what this means to you, and it's just tremendous work. One of the things that Superintendent suggested, Marceline, that was really interesting. We kind of looking at the number of kindergarteners, and then sort of kind of backing up and saying how many of our probable 4-year-olds eligible students are in. If we could get that data by the clusters as well, that would be really, really interesting. Yeah, and percent. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so what would you identify at this point as like the 2 or 3 biggest challenges that we have in order to continue to expand the program and to implement it successfully? What kind of calls out in your mind as our top 2 or 3 things that we need to do?
I would say it expanded so quickly. We went from, like you said, it was rapid. Right. It was rapid fire. Yeah. But it's so in my heart. I'm so proud of it. Yeah. We went from 70. We started out with 70 classrooms, and then we went to 189 in 1 year. And the 4-year, we had TK, the old TK, down to 4 by September 1st. And I think what's most important is that age span. And I think understanding that gap of that 4-year-old, that developmental space of what that 4-year-old means is so critical. Yeah. Because we are the front runners in it, there's nothing before us to look to. Right. So as we're forging ahead and as we're the spearheader of it, we're also learning. We're the first one. We have no one to look to help guide us. So we're also creating it. We're leaning on each other. We're looking to expertise from each other. So I think the most priority we have is that professional development and that expertise in each other. And so I think time and the resources and the financial aspect that goes with it is and the CDE is responding with us. They have recognized that need. In working with them, they are actually catching up with that too. And so I think that collaborative space is a priority, and I think they're recognizing that as well. So that's one priority. And then another one is facility needs. Materials, furniture, little 4-year-old furniture is a big need. And so catching up with that as well.
And it seems like it's so important to have outdoor space and garden space, for the
Exactly.
kids, especially as their brain.
Exactly, the whole physical condition of that space, so they can explore, be creative. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Dr. Whitehurst-Payne.
Thank you. The word is outside. They learn outside before they learn anything else. They want to go outside.
Yes, they do.
And you spell it, and they know you're talking outside. I've had a couple of great nephews, and that's all they know is outside. But I want to look at the data in one sense. Part of our, and I'm really thrilled to see Lincoln Cluster and the clusters that we wanted to focus on to really have a high enrollment and so forth, because this is just for you programming. We don't want to create that disparity that's even wider, in the sense that we know that there are gaps in our children in the main clusters that you've noted here. And what we're trying to do is to catch them up so that we can all come in on a level playing field with access to curriculum and content and so forth. Because we know that some folks will pay the $1,800 a month for childcare, or whatever it is running now, but I know it happens to be that in Washington. But we want to be sure to capture that group where the parents may not really see the value of early childhood. They still want to nurture and so forth, and that's good to provide that nurturing, but I think we'd like to have them as volunteers in the classroom, but to not deny those students access to the phonemic awareness and all the other things that we're teaching in the UTK and K. So, I mean, that's an ongoing theme and passion for me, because I don't believe that there are any dumb kids or any kids who can't do. I believe if we provide the access and the opportunity that any child can do whatever he or she wants to do, as long as we've done our part to make it palatable and edible so that they can obtain it, achieve it. And I think that's what UTK is attempting to do, to give children that access that they are being denied by not awareness on people's part about how valuable it is to have that kind of, I mean, don't send a child to school at 5 years old to a kindergarten class and the other kids know how to read already. That's not fair to the child. So we're providing those opportunities for you to bring the child early so that they too can compete with everybody else and not get off on the wrong foot. I know I said that awkwardly, but
No, you said it great.
I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Whitehurst-Payne. Trustee Dr. Pedersen.
Yeah, just very briefly. I see on the list of enrollments, three of the clusters in my sub-district are the outliers in terms of having very low numbers. And presumably that's largely just because it's very hard to afford those properties and young families have difficulty even accessing that real estate to live in those clusters, and those that do may have a disproportionate ability to seek private alternatives. So those two together probably account for most of that. But I'm not willing to let those. I came out of the La Jolla cluster. I'm not willing to let those wonderful schools sink in terms of enrollment. So for me, I really want to prioritize making sure that every single person in that cluster that wants to get into UTK does. And so my question is, and I think we've talked, there's been some emails back and forth on this, but in Point Loma, luckily we've seen pretty good enrollments in Point Loma, but there's a group of parents that are advocating for, there's a wait list that I think is a 23 or something. So it would be great if we had developed a mechanism so that when in a particular cluster or at a site where you reach a threshold, that we had some mechanism to put a classroom together and find the resources and get our facilities people to see if we can get a bungalow, I mean, whatever it takes. But I would love to see if we could develop some sort of process to get those, once the wait list hits a particular threshold, to get that set up as quickly as possible.
Right, thank you. We meet regularly, and we look at the numbers, and we look to see where we have reached a threshold, and then I make recommendations to leadership, and we go from there. So I think one of your areas is one of the next that we're looking at to see where we can potentially add UTK, and we're already working with FPC and IFPD to identify a space.
Trustee Cotoriano.
Thank you. Just want to say this is a beautiful presentation, wonderfully put together. I had a really short question just to fill up a little bit more clarity about one of the slides. You talked a lot about the role that VAPA and the arts play within our UTK system, which is amazing. I think we all recognize the role that it plays in healthy childhood development. There are two parts that I kind of wanted to just learn more about. You talked a little bit about engaging community partners, where you have another group come into our classrooms and teach. I remember hearing a little bit about that. And then also, can you speak a little bit more about this plan for growth that is also mentioned here, the idea of one event per month? What does that look like?
So what we were hoping for is building capacity throughout our schools. So at least one event throughout our clusters, throughout one in the fall and one in the spring, and building capacity and having each of the principals have opportunities to request an event at their school. And so instead of just, as you can see, we had 5 events this year. So we're hoping to build capacity and have at least one per month at different clusters throughout next year to grow the program, to have more schools have it, because schools hear about it and then they want to have it. So we've already gotten requests this year to have more.
Awesome, thank you.
Trustee Vice President Hazen.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work you've done, and I think particularly you talked about the challenges that you've been working to overcome with educators, and really appreciate that work, and think that that is a model we want to be working towards, continuous process improvement to continue to do better for educators and for students and for families. And one of the things, and I whispered it to President Bazo, is what we're seeing in UTK and this really sort of balanced learning experience is something I'm curious about, maybe not a question for you, but a comment just about replicating across elementary school, right? This experiential learning, the focus on social emotional learning, as well as math, reading, et cetera. Right, hearing students talk about the love they have for each other. All of those things are things we want, not just for 4-year-olds, but for all students. And so it is a question for all of us to think about as we think about what we're doing in every grade. And I know I shared some questions with y'all earlier, but I did have questions around, so one of the California Preschool Foundations for Learning. I'm not familiar with what that is, so if you can talk a little bit about that.
So the California Preschool Learning Foundations is a state document. There's 3 volumes, and I can send you the link. There's volume 1, 2, and 3, and the first volume talks about self-regulation, early literacy, and I believe mathematics. And then the second volume and volume 3 have social studies, science, and different content areas. And it's basically, the state of California developed it. The foundations are more of the, I would say, standards. And then they also have a supplemental document that goes along with it, and it's the frameworks. And that's more what I would call their little vignettes, or like the lesson plans that match the standards. And so they're in alignment with each other. They go hand in hand, and they're a wonderful resource. And actually, the original TK was built upon the California Preschool Learning Foundations along with preschool, and so they're still using those documents
I
for
see.
UTK.
Thank you. And I guess, so along those lines, I was wondering, so we saw growth in terms of phonemic awareness, right? So one indicator, I guess, tied to the different foundations you listed, and I'm wondering, right, because we're really concerned about what students know or can do, including social emotional growth. And so what is the plan to, because I know the LCAP goal talks about age-appropriate instructional strategies and assessments. So it sounds like we have a sense about early literacy indicators. What about all those other areas? And not that we want to over-assess, but how are we doing in terms of social emotional learning, in terms of numeracy, right? The list goes on and on.
So we use Second Step as a guide and curriculum for UTK. And right now, teachers, it's not mandated across to use direct assessment right now, since it is the first year district-wide that we're using the phonemic awareness. But teachers use anecdotal notes and use different assessments in their classroom. And I can get some examples for you and send you some examples.
Well, I think, I guess the curiosity, so for next year, so as you talked about growth, will we see other indicators? Will those be mandated?
Exactly. Yeah, we'll grow the program, and so since we have a district-wide use of the curriculum for Second Step, we'll grow the program and do a district-required assessment for the social emotional, yes.
Fantastic. I have questions around the funding. So this is just so that I understand sort of the breakdown. So I know it says, and I don't know if this number is exactly right, but about $36 million was spent on early learning this year. And I'm curious, as you talk about materials, supplies, all of those things, about what % of our early learning dollars go to staff versus materials, supplies, curriculum, parent engagement programs, right? All of those things.
So that number would have to come from finance.
Okay.
But we can get that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions around, family engagement. So I know we said we're aiming for one program a month next year.
I'm hoping for fall and spring throughout each cluster.
Got it. So that would be, so every cluster, families would be invited.
Exactly.
At their own, so I guess, will they be able to, are we encouraging every single site to offer family engagement opportunities?
We do, and some schools host their own, but we do ask for schools that would like our partnership in hosting it, that we would come to their school and help support them in that effort.
And then along those lines also, and I know I have a lot of questions, I apologize to my colleagues, we've heard about the value of bridge programs going into, I think, middle school and high school. And is that part of our family engagement strategy for UTK, really bringing families in? I know we have like these summer bridge programs. Is that part of the UTK experience? And I speak as the mom of a now 5-year-old, right, wanting to feel connected. And we want them to bring them in.
Well, you actually, I had that focus in my heart last year, and I talked to Ms. Toby Pace about it because she does the expanded learning opportunities, and so it has been on my mind for 2 summers now. And now that she's created this program, that is something that I hope I can be part of because I think it is important, and I do have some ideas. So. I'm hoping that is something that we can do in the future.
Very good. And we can connect. I have other questions, but we can connect on those later. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll finish up. I just had one that's probably just more clarification to get an idea of demographics and how we're identifying, like if I'm a parent of a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, how are we finding those people? And because I actually got that question from someone and I wasn't sure of the answer. And then my second question, I'll just ask them together, was around the district-wide enrollment. And I know you said you're focusing on different areas, but, you know, again, I'm looking in my area, and Mira Mesa, I'm very happy to see has quite a high number, because there's a lot of students there under the poverty level. But if I look at Madison, which is literally like the next canyon over, and Claremont, and Madison is a Title I area, so I feel like they should actually be in one of our high priority, because I think that almost that entire cluster is Title I. It's pretty low, so that concerns me that we're not getting to some of those students, because those are some of our more our low-income students that we need to identify, and in Claremont as well. So I didn't know if there was a reason for that, or if it just for what those challenges.
It appears that last year's trend of lower enrollment in Claremont and Madison is continuing. Right now, we use those schools for overflow for your other cluster, Mira Mesa, and a lot of families are appreciative of that option. There are children living in those boundaries, and so we're working on a plan to, boots to the ground and walk neighborhoods and recruit families, which is what we did in our focus clusters last summer. I don't have a specific answer for you as to why we're not seeing as high of enrollment, but it's not just UTK, it's across the clusters from elementary through high school.
I think that's why I was sharing. I think it's important for us to know what the populations are in the schools.
Sure.
Without that, on this diagram, it's going to look low.
Right.
But it could be 80% of the available students.
Right.
And so I
Exactly.
think that's why we have to do that analysis. Because you have a large bar.
Right.
So
I think we can make the assumption that there are way more 4-year-olds in the Mira Mesa community than there are in Claremont. And one of the wonderful consequences of our early enrollment process is that it's focused on the neighborhood school. So if you want your child in UTK, you must pre-enroll in your neighborhood school, and that gives us a really good gauge at the beginning where the children are. And in some clusters, it actually increased their enrollment significantly because the children went to their neighborhood school, and they're staying there. So that's very exciting. It's kind of revitalized a few neighborhoods for neighborhood school interest.
Well, because I know we're suffering a lot in the Madison cluster as far as students not going to their neighborhood schools, so that's why I wanted to lift that up.
Yeah,
And
but I want to respond to that
Yes.
point. During the pandemic, we found that a lot of children were a lot of students were staying in their neighborhoods. So we need, rather than, because a lot of students are bused to Madison, and I don't remember Claremont, but I know Madison has a lot. And so why would you take your child up there to be bused when it's 3 or 4 years old versus putting it in the neighborhood, in the Lincoln cluster or wherever it is?
yeah, and Marceline, you did a great job of explaining. I think we look at a presentation like this, but you also have to look at the district context. And that really helps, as you said, even in kinder or first, second, third, you see lower enrollment. So that's why it's important to not just look at map data, but look at very specific data for clusters and for schools. So thank you for lifting that up.
I guess the reason I lift up Madison is there are a lot of students in that area that go to La Jolla or UC or Mission Bay and go out of their districts. So I know in the Madison cluster has been a big push for those neighborhoods, those families in those communities to keep them coming into Madison, and they're struggling. So that's why I just wanted to give them a little love.
And there are very few choice seats available at UTK. So parents' best option is to enroll in their school of residence, because we want to accommodate all residents first, and then if we have space available, we offer choice seats.
And you said that we actually have people going door to door to help recruit
Yeah,
for
we have
families?
some community groups that are helping us out, like Chicano Federation. going to apartment buildings, putting up flyers. Communications office is helping us with the media blast. So we're trying to get in specific communities where enrollment is not as high as we would like it to be.
That's fantastic. All right, thank you. Does anyone else? We good? All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, sorry. Got a little behind on my, okay. We will now consider board consent agenda items F1 through F3, adoption of minutes, recognition of May 21st through 27th as Classified Employees Week, and recognition of May 22nd as Harvey Milk Day. Do we have a motion on items F1 through F3? Motion, okay. Motion to approve by Dr. Whitehurst-Payne and second by Trustee Nepomuceno. Let's go ahead and have our student members vote first.
You have one speaker on F2.
Oh, yes, thank you so much for reminding me of that. Okay, let's go with our speaker. Is that Isel Martinez? Okay. Isel Martinez, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Classified Employees Week, that's next week. I am, as you know, the para-president. I represent all the paraeducators here for San Diego Unified. And I would implore you all to shadow us for a day, any classified. See what we do on a daily basis for San Diego's students. We pour our hearts out every single day. And sometimes there are people, even in our own community, that don't know what we do. And it's really important that as you take this time to recognize us and to really see what we bring in, that all people know what we do for San Diego students every single day. So really seeing what the bus drivers do and how their routes are, how food service workers prepare the food and get the food ready for the students, how our office people are taking care of all the paperwork except for UTK, right? All of that, and then even us paras, how we support our most neediest of students here in San Diego. Some of us almost battered sometimes, whether physically or emotionally, and we do that day in, day out, because we love the students we serve every single day. So please take the time, whether it's you trustees, the staff, please take the time to go visit a classified, not just during Classified Employees Week, but any time during the school year, and see what value we bring every single day. Thanks.
Thank you, Isel. Okay, I think we had a motion and a second, and we're going to do a vote. Let's start with our student members. Trustee Nepomuceno?
Aye.
Trustee Catoriano?
Aye.
And all others? Okay, so that vote passes unanimously, with student board members concurring. Okay, next we're going to move on to G1, the DACS semi-annual update to the board and staff report on compensatory education. Dr. Jackson, please introduce the item.
Thank you, President Boswell. This is the DAC's semi-annual update, and I know this is going to be a combined staff and District Advisory Committee's joint presentation. And so I know we have Crystal Troll here. Dr. Troll is the DAC chairperson. The first vice chair, Michael, he is here, and I know we mentioned Michael. Thank you very much for your leadership, sir. Second vice chair, we have Ms. Gonzalez. She is here. Thank you. She brings it, so welcome. And we also have First Representative Dan Yamunga and Tom Liberto. Thank you for being here, and Tom is the Director of Strategic Planning and Student Achievement, and they will be presenting this evening. Thank you, Dr. Troll.
Thank you, Dr. Superintendent Jackson. So thank you, everybody, for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. As mentioned, I'm Dr. Crystal Troll, I'm the chair, and we have a much expanded board since the last time we were here in November, and we're just delighted to be able to come and share our work. all of us on the board represent our school site councils. And so I myself represent 3 school site councils. Michael Kozma represents his University City High School's school site council. Mrs. Gonzalez is with iHigh. Our newest Title I representative, Dan Yamunga, he represents Crawford. And then Debbie Hedgren, she's our second Title I representative. She couldn't be here because she's working with students after school in a tutoring program, so she sends her best, but she's with Valencia Park. And then we have an outgoing board member who has been so instrumental in our work, Gray Hawk, who represents Mountain View SSC. They've been serving as our parliamentarian, and I want to give a shout out to all of their work because it's just been incredible what Gray has done for our DAC in the terms of our bylaws. And I can't go without saying, Tom and his team, we're just so grateful for their work. I know there's some transitionings happening, but we're just so grateful for him and his team, and he's going to be joining us as we present. So we're going to share. This is a new way of doing this because we have multiple peoples, and we want to be sure that everybody has a voice and has a say in the work. So we're going to trade on and off with slides. So maybe a little clunky, so just bear with us. So Mrs. Gonzalez, you're up next.
Let's see. Hi, everybody. I'm Ms. Gonzalez, and I am your second chair. I wrote something down. Let me catch my breath because I'm a little nervous. This is my first Board of Education meeting. My friend was here to give me the moral support. She had to pick up her son from a Little League game. Shout out North Park Little League. So hello, and with gratitude, I proudly serve you as second chair on San Diego Unified's DAC. I am Ms. Gonzalez with a 3, wife and mother of 3 from iHigh Academy. I sit on the SGT as a vice chair with Miss Megan Hughes. I don't know if she's still in here. Hi, Megan. And I'm also sit on the school site council because I learned along the way during TK and UTK, I started my journey as a parent and a volunteer and in the class. So to wrap this up quickly, I'm here wholeheartedly. I'm glad to be here. And we'll start our presentation by describing the purpose of the DAC and updates to when we were and where we were back in November of 2022. We'll then discuss our challenges, our planning priorities, and we'll close with a few requests. And the next thing I'm going to read out is the purpose of the DAC. The purpose of the DAC is to assemble a group of school site council members, parents, students, staff, and community members to advise all San Diego Unified School Site districts with a focus on the effective use of the state and federal compensatory funding to support all students with an emphasis on students who are foster youth, low-income English learners, and homeless. We provide and encourage the use of quantitative and qualitative data to ensure equity in student learning across the district. And I've got a good team. I've got a good team. For a learning mom and parent, we've got, you guys, we're all in good hands. So I'll pass it on to the next.
Hi, Dan Yamanga. I work at Crawford area and Hoover area, and I'm a parent of Jefferson Elementary School in North Park. I have two boys there. They think they are already teenagers, but they're still in elementary school. But I'm here today to work with my colleagues at DSC to present about what we have done so far. And so since our last update in November last year, we have a few key takeaways related to work that we have been doing at the DSC. And these takeaways are communications, how we do communication. We talk about communication a lot. Engagement with the district, and how can we as leaders from the community partners with our district to engage and also meaningfully support our kids in the schools. engage with the DSC body, and so the entire, the executive and the body, how do we engage, civilly engage with them? Data emphasis on, and emphasis on analysis and interpretation of data, everything that goes on, how do we make sense of it, and to present policies that are more effective in our district. Diversity, engagement, and representation, how do we make sure that everybody and every voice in our communities in San Diego Unified School are included in the process of educating our kids. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. As I'm sure you are all familiar, there was, of course, the data breach and implementation of multi-factor authentication for district emails. So we have been able to regain access to the dac@sandy.net email address, are continuing forward using that to ensure uniformity in communication with the District Advisory Council. We also continue to partner with the Family Engagement Department for all of our DAC general meetings so that the large number of parents that are on our committee have easy access to that information. And we also wanted to share with you that we have developed a glossary that explains some of the acronyms and terminology that we use most frequently that can often be a barrier to understanding what is going on in our meetings. That is a resource that is finished. It is currently being translated, and we are going to start sharing it in all of our meetings.
It's going to be fun, back and forth. We continue to refine our Take It to Your SSC document, and this every month we send this home to families. And the purpose of this document is to summarize and provide links to all the presentations and resources from each meeting that we have. We have also added sample questions that the SSC members can ask their own SSC at the school sites. And also, we will present contact information in those links. This is sent to not just the DSC representative at the DSC meeting, but to all SSC members on each of the school sites rosters that from the different school sites that we have. Oh, that's it.
On the left, we have a screenshot of our DAC landing page, and our vision for the DAC landing page was to have a one-stop shop for all of the resources that a representative on our committee would need to be successful in our meetings. So that DAC landing page includes Zoom links to all of our meetings, presentation links for what is the slide decks that are shared, agendas and minutes for all of our meetings, additional resources, and of course, a Q&A form so that we can address the questions of all of our representatives.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for letting us be here again to present to you. Really excited about the work that the DAC continues to do. We're doing something a little different in this presentation. In the former ones, I've given all of the district's responses in the past, but we're kind of infusing them as long as they relate to what the DAC board members are speaking about. So our goals, we have two of them that align to the communication piece. The first one is the roles and responsibilities training. Our staff in the district goes out to the school sites or sometimes via Zoom, depending on how they meet, and there's a specific training about what their roles and responsibilities as SSC members are. I remember a few years ago when I first stepped into the position, it was a strong feeling by the board members then that the schools, especially Title I that get a lot of the money, need to know what their roles and responsibilities are so that we're being responsible with that. So that is our first goal. Our second goal is additional training beyond that. So the DAC, through that forum, things come up like, talk to us about budget and how it works at a school site, or talk to us about what's the difference between SSC and SGT. And so we're very proud. Crystal, if you'll click, I think that's an animated slide. The first goal, we're at 47% in training our SSCs at the school sites. Now, it's a 2-year goal. So we hope that every 2 years we hit 100%, and that's because the term of an SSC member is typically 2 years. So we're right on track with that at 47%, and I have no doubt that early next year we will hit close to the 100% mark. And then for goal 2, we have provided 6 trainings. Our goal calls for 1 per quarter, so that would be 3. We've provided 6 so far, and I read a couple of the titles there, but SPSA planning, what is Title I, what is the SSC's role in the SPSA, and SSC versus SGT to give you a sampling of what those are. But we're at 200%, so we've overachieved that goal. We're really excited about that.
Okay, so since November, we've been really working on engagement because that was one of our priorities back in November, and it continues to be a priority. And so we've had LCAP and bylaws subcommittees that we've invited DAC members and SSC members. You don't have to be the DAC rep to come join us in this work. And we've had some bylaws meetings where we've had 8 or 9 people, and it's been great because to get those different perspectives about how these bylaws are understood has been really helpful. We also focus on the Q&A at our meetings. A lot of times we get questions that we don't have answers for right away, so we come back in the next meeting and we either present them generally to the board, to the body as a whole, or we will contact individuals if it's something that is more specific or niche oriented. We've had lots of trainings in order to engage with our body, and Tom mentioned a couple, but we've had things such as mental health, LCAP, goals 2 and 3, LCFF, Title I, everything that we think that an SSC member would need. We also engage with our members in terms of seeing who's at our meetings. And so attendance is something that we continue to see high participation rates. We never have a problem with quorum, thank goodness, and we have a very engaged body. So this is an illustration just to show you, just a sampling. We're starting to work with attendance data a little bit more just to really understand where our gaps are and things that we can be working on at the board level for us to maybe reach out to school sites and just see where they might need some support. So the top chart gives you an idea of overall percentage of attendance. This is all of the SSCs combined. And this is if a school was represented at least one DAC meeting from October of 22 to March of 23. And the one below it describes how attendance is by Title I schools. And it's arranged by cluster, so you can kind of see which ones are near and dear to your hearts and who you're representing. So we see clearly that we have some work to be doing with the Title I schools because, a lot of our work at the DAC, it emphasizes Title I funding and spending and programs. And so we absolutely want those folks to be at these meetings so that they can benefit from the work and to build their SSC.
So then the district goals around this is we were quite aggressive on goal number 3 as a district. Crystal's slide that she just showed you attendance at 1 meeting. We called out 5 meetings of the series of 8. We felt that if a school site was participating in 5 meetings or more, they would have a pretty good sense of what the DAC is and how they can use that information back at their school site. So we did call out that 45% of our schools or more would be at 5 meetings or more. That was goal 3. And then goal 5 was that we would have 75% of our SSC rosters approved by the deadline, which is normally at the end of October. So if you'll click the next slide, for the attendance goal, we've had 25 Title I schools that have attended 5 or more meetings. So that is good, but it's quite short of the 45%. Part of the reasoning we've seen is we didn't get our Title I board members on board as soon as we wanted to, but now that they're in place, we're confident that they'll work with the communities. Our staff is going to start to connect more with the clusters too across the district and start to talk to those clusters about sending representatives. So I have no doubt that this year will probably fall short, to be honest, but we do have plans in place to reach that. And then one more click. This one we're really excited about, and it may not seem like much, but when you look at goal 5 and 75% or more of the rosters, legally a school site council cannot conduct business unless they have an approved roster. That's state law. And so that was a big one. When we were starting to wait into December, January sometimes, guys, we got to get your roster going. I'm very proud to tell you that of 175 of our schools, we received 173 rosters this year. So we're really excited about that. And hopefully that will continue so that they can get about the business of operating as an SSC rather than us hounding them for the roster.
Okay. So since November, we've been talking about diversity, inclusion, representation, what that looks like for our DAC. And most of our focus around that has been with the bylaws because there were lots of things that needed to be updated, changed so that language was more inclusive. clarifying sections, using real words instead of words that nobody understands, acronyms, just making them more user-friendly so people actually understand them has been one of our goals. And additionally, we're just so pleased to be able to have 2 additional members on the executive team representing Title I schools. So we feel like that's going to strengthen our work, and we're grateful for their willingness to support this work as well.
So we did wrap up our LCAP subcommittee, which Crystal had briefly mentioned earlier in the presentation. We did make sure to emphasize with our district partners that we can really refine LCAP data to prioritize Title I subgroups. So those are foster youth students, English learner students, homeless youth, and low-income students. We have been able to meet regularly with district staff to discuss data availability, and I've also started working on some resources that will aid DAC members in accessing different data that is available around the district. And we have also multiple times in our DAC meetings and in our email communication and some of our resources really encouraged our members to request site-specific data through their principals so that instead of just seeing a broad district-wide trend at DAC meetings, they can see specifically what their school looks like within their SSC meetings.
And the last district goal, Goal 4 that we called out, was increasing opportunities for the DAC to share input and collaborate in the development of LCAP and Vision 2020. So we called out that in 80% or more of our agendas, we would provide that opportunity. If you'll click the slide, you'll see that we're at 86. We did have 86% of our agendas had a LCAP or a Vision 2030 topic related. One thing that we're committed to, and you'll see in our recommendations though, is increasing the amount of feedback. So we've been doing a lot of presenting about what those things are, but we want to increase the opportunity for them to give us feedback about those so it can be incorporated in the revisions.
The first challenge that the DAC has faced is applying data, a fairly limited pool of data, to so many different issues. Really, our main sources of data are the California Healthy Kids Survey, state testing, and other measures like chronic absenteeism and graduation rates. While these are all very important metrics, when we start talking about the efficacy of specific mental health resources and solutions that are offered by the district, it does become hard to measure with something like the California Healthy Kids Survey that really prioritizes anonymity and doesn't regularly test, so there's no real way to compare the same student from one year to another year and seeing how a mental health resource that is provided is truly benefiting that student. Another challenge that we continue to face is really keeping a focus on DAC work within our meetings. The DAC is very supportive of course, having the Q&A session time at every meeting and being responsive to any questions that our members have. Oftentimes, these questions do leave the scope of our focus. So that's Title I funding, the LCAP, and the SPSA. That's really the bulk of what we do as a DAC. So making sure that there are opportunities around the district for questions that are more department related, some of our educational partners, to make sure we are able to redirect our representatives to those subject matter experts that can better address their question.
Okay, so I've told you where we've been, what we've been working on. Now we're going to talk about where we're going to go, where our priorities are moving forward in the next 6 months. So looking at data, as Michael mentioned, that's always been a priority of ours, and trying to understand correlations, connections, how is Title I funding or even LCFF funding really, is it making an impact? As an SSC member, you want to know that because you're voting on these things, you're thinking about planning and for the future and for the following years, but how do we know? So that's why data, we're really kind of pushing the data. We're also have come up with this idea of a data index, and what this is a one-stop shop for understanding what is all the data available in our district, where does it come from, who owns it, is it state, is it federal, is it local, is it internal, is it public? Where are all these data points so that as an SSC member, you can ask your principal or you can ask somebody from the district and say, hey, we really want to look at this specifically. Can we get this data? Because oftentimes the SSCs, as a member, you don't always know what to ask for. So we want to empower them with the information of this is what's available. So I'm very excited about this data index. and how we can use it, and also to just generate deeper discussions for the SSCs. Because if you've been to an SSC meeting, some are more lively than others. Some tend to be very quiet and just going through the motions, whereas others have a lot of discussion. But we want all SSCs to really have that discussion about what decisions that they're making. So we're hoping the index will help support that.
So another planning priority area is continuing to provide SSC support. We are working to develop a timeline to help SSC plan their agendas by offering suggested topics relevant to SSCs. As an executive board, we will invite SSC members to join us as we meet over the summer to plan for the next years. And this we do in two phases. The first one, developing a timeline for SSC to help plan agendas. And this we do calendar with the suggested questions and topics that correlates to yearly SSC work. And this we get from all the representatives from the school sites. And this include SPSA planning, uniform complaint, and parent engagement policies, budgets, which is like the most important part, the interesting part of discussions. And then also we look at the summer planning, which we'll give surveys to DSC prior to planning and to understand priorities. So we'll make sure that whatever thing we are planning as we go as a DSC, all our members from all the schools have their inputs on, and also they know exactly what's going on, what areas they can participate in as we continue to make it better.
Hello, and I'm back, and I can hear my son over there. As you can see, my kids are already being on board with mommy going through all this. They're hearing me for my Zoom meetings. They're in the background as part of my props, you know, in the background for the holidays. Usually when we have our meetings, and they'll see my background, have some kind of holiday back there, or I'll be wearing my shark fin for iHigh Academy. But I hear my son. I'm going to take you somewhere when we leave to go get something to eat. Okay, I love you. Okay. Diversity, inclusion, and representation is a priority for the DAC. We will continue to encourage student participation on school site councils, communicate and share with school site council resources, tools, and information to support their work, and identify and invite school site councils to share what's working and what's not with the DAC, and peer learning opportunities. And as a parent, I try to get other parents to come, and it's always, I'm tired, I got something to do. Or if they've been to the meetings, they're like, I'm not going. So I started to kind of, with the DAC, I let them know from my point of view, as a parent and as one who doesn't know. And like Crystal mentioned, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what to ask our principals. We don't know what our school has that we can work with to offer the students. And all students have different needs at different schools. So being aware of that, I'm glad that I'm here on the DAC. And again, I want to thank Crystal. This is my last time to talk, so I just want to say thanks to Crystal for putting a great presentation together. Michael Cosma, the student, who's, my God, he's just, you're amazing, Michael. If you don't hear it enough, I'm here to tell you. And they've been very welcoming, Thomas Liberto, and everybody when I have questions, and they're very patient with me, and thank you. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for letting me bring my family and to help.
Thank you, Mrs. Gonzalez, for all you're doing. So we'll wrap things up in the next few slides, but mainly we just want to say we're grateful. We're grateful for your continued support and partnership, and we have a couple requests. Hopefully, you're seeing all the good work that we're doing and that we're busy. We're doing stuff. We would ask you to continue supporting our monthly leadership meetings with district staff and leadership. And we extend the invitation for you as board members and board trustees to join us anytime. We would love to see you, as well as at our DAC meetings. And the other request that we have would be supporting the district-wide data index. You know, we really feel like it will not only help the SSCs, but it will also help the district as a whole and the community. If this is a publicly available document, I think it would answer a lot of questions and help people to really understand the bigger context of the work that goes on in the district, as well as give them more information to be able to ask the right questions that they may have.
The district responses are there. Did you change the slide? Could you go back real quick? I won't read them to you. Basically, in a nutshell, what's underneath each of those recommendations is a district's response, and our answer is yes. We will support all of those things. We are working very much in harmony and enjoy the work, and we see the good things they're doing. I did want to highlight the very last bullet, though, that it says, we've done intensive work with our district principals. The last 2 principals institutes have been around data and how to use data, especially for the SPSA work, and focusing on their spotlight students and including them and making sure that we're serving our most needy students. So the work that the DAC is doing, I'm very proud that my department and my staff and others have collaborated to have that time to work with our principals also. We're getting our principals more geared around the data, and so everything is kind of coming together very nicely. Wanted to highlight that. I think the next 2 are yours.
As we briefly mentioned before, a big focus for the DAC is helping SSCs bridge the gap between the LCAP, the SPSA, and Title I funding. So we would like to see, of course, district support in creating resources that explain how the goals of the LCAP and also data that is collected as part of the LCAP can be applicable to Title I funding and the other work of SSC members. And we'd also like the Board of Education and of course some of our other district partners to consider opportunities that would allow more of our representatives to meet with them frequently so that they can ask their specific question and get those needs addressed, and to make sure that DAC meetings can really stay focused on the work of the DAC.
So now we have a long list of appreciation and thank yous. We definitely want to thank all of our 176 schools across the district and the work that they do through the SSC that supports the DAC. Did you want to go back and forth?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And then we want to thank all of the district staff that has supported the DAC. It's amazing to me how many people, when we call them and say, can you come to the DAC and present this? They're like, yeah, we're right on it. So I won't read all of the names, but they're all there, the people that have come and done presentations and work with us, even our district translators that are there month after month. Wonderful job. The support of the Board of Education and obviously our superintendent for the team, not only in the monthly meetings that we do with the DAC, but every time we have an ask, you seem to come through for us, and we very much appreciate that. The work of my department, the SPSA department, who've worked very diligently to support this, specifically Anthony Pham, Stacy Johnson, Brandon Lemon, and then I'm going to try and say the last one without a tear. Crystal mentioned that we're in a little bit of transition. Our administrative assistant has moved on to a different position. She was so ingrained, she was part of us as a DAC. And so we specifically want to thank Blanca Salcedo. She's moving on. She's wonderful. We love her. We know that we're going to try and fill the gap as best we can, but we want to recognize the work that she has done. And then obviously the dedication of all of our board members here that are standing before you. From the district standpoint, we thank you for each and everything that you do. You're wonderful, and it's being noticed.
Yep. Thank you. All right, so on behalf of the more than 170 schools that the DAC represents, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share our work. We look forward to your continued dialogue, answering your questions, hearing your ideas, and your feedback.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. And I want to say I went to a recent, Zoomed into a recent DAC meeting. It was a couple months ago, but I was just so amazed at all the work you guys do, and it was really enlightening and wonderful to join you. And I'll definitely try to get on another one very soon, and I encourage all my colleagues to do the same. Okay, questions. We have Trustee Dr. Pedersen.
All right. First of all, that was a great presentation. having served as secretary of both an SGT and an SSC, I hope there's not a quiz because I don't even quite understand the difference. But they do incredible work. And I do want to say I was able last year to attend a couple of DACs remotely, and I was really blown away by the quality. All of our bodies have a little difficulty staying on target, but your meetings were very good. Ms. Gonzalez alluded to the challenges around sometimes SSCs and HDTs can be a bit of a skeleton crew, even at an affluent school like Torrey Pines Elementary. And so my first is a question: how do we support? I mean, you don't have a lot of resources really, so how can the district and this board support you in recruiting additional folks for SSCs and SGTs, and not just additional folks, but the reality is it's oftentimes the usual suspects in terms of people that may have a single income family and they have someone in the home who's able to attend regularly, more affluent folks. How do we not only increase the participation in SGTs and SSCs, but also the representativeness or the equity of those bodies? So number one, that's a concrete ask. What can we do to support you? And then the last thing I'll say is we feel the same way in terms of data. I think, we're at 40,000 feet. There's a lot of windows in the cockpit. There's not that many instruments really relative to, and flying a district this size really requires a lot more instruments in the cockpit. And so I'm very eager, and I know the rest of the board is very eager, and leadership team is very eager to work with you to really expand not only the coordination of data and the index on data, but we need new metrics. We need metrics that are focused on leading indicators and not lagging indicators. We need metrics that are focused on sites, on classrooms, on school sites, and not just on satisfying Sacramento in terms of what they need for their own purposes. So we're on board, and we're very eager to work with the DAC on that.
Great question. I appreciate your pilot analogy because I am a private pilot, so I understand the whole how that works. So how to support the SSCs and SGTs? I guess they're not one and the same, but they have very similar kinds of environments. So one of the things that we've been really talking about how to get more students engaged in SSC work at the middle and high school level. And so there are some logistical challenges with that with classes. They're in class sometimes when the SSC meets, if they meet early in the morning, or if they meet after school, they have after school activities. So really thinking of a way, I actually had a crazy idea of maybe giving them a special pass or an incentive of some sort. Not extra credit, because that's not an academic factor. So just thinking about how to really encourage student participation, first and foremost. And I think each school site has such a different personality and characteristic that you can't do you have to have your meetings at a certain time, you have to do your meetings a certain way. I think it's up to each school site to really understand where are their gaps. Who keeps joining the SSC? Where are the gaps? Who do we not see? And to really target outreach to those particular groups. The SSCs are made up half parents and community members, half staff and teachers. And so even the staff and teachers, sometimes there's not a lot of turnover, even in their representation. I think sometimes the SSC is a mystery. Nobody really knows what it is exactly. There's this kind of, what is an acronym, I'm afraid. All these really smart people, they're looking at data. I think if we were to somehow message that the SSC is a place where all of the stakeholder groups in the school site come together and work collaboratively. But a lot of that really depends on the principal, how collaborative the principal is. So really encouraging collaboration, access to data, access to information, encouraging questions, which goes back to our wanting to establish a timeline guidance for SSCs, because oftentimes they're catching up to work. They're approving policies the day before they're due, or they're approving the SPSA the day before they're due, because it becomes a routine. They just start to rubber stamp things. So I think we need to step back. What is the work of the SSC? And to really message that. Why is it important? Yes, it is a requirement, but it can be so much more. It can really be a place where ideas are generated for that school. So I think if there's a way to message that from the district and to encourage, parents, there'll always be those parents and community members that are always involved. I admit I'm one of those people. I always have to be involved. Stop volunteering already. But I think there's also an opportunity for other parents and other community members, if we can invite them, include them, encourage them, reach out to them specifically. I think there's a lot of ways that we can to increase the how the SSCs work and their visibility. So how you can support us, help us figure out how to message to those folks. Let's get to those folks somehow, some way, whether it be through surveys, weekly emails, whatever, because we all represent a certain amount of SSCs, but not all of the SSCs. So there are ways to do that. Yep. They're already, yeah. Michael, did you have a suggestion? Yes, please.
I really appreciate your question. I definitely think as a DAC body, we're trying to focus more on concrete actions to take and not just ambiguous and lofty goals. What the SPSA department has been very helpful in aiding us in doing is reaching out to site principals to figure out, what does engagement at your site look like? So I think a specific action that board members can take is reaching out to site principals that you represent and asking them, what means are there for communication with your with your school population? Of how do you regularly engage with parents, with students, with teachers to make sure that there is an understanding of Title I and the SSC? And then from there, once that understanding is established, then maybe we can work on getting more people involved in SSCs, but to first make sure that principals are communicating with their schools what is an SSC, what is Title I funding.
I was just going to add to that, and also like why it's important to them, right? Because a lot of times parents are like, why is that important to me? So, yeah, but I think that, Trustee Vice President Shayna Hazen.
Just want to again thank all of you. I know that you have families, you have homework, you have lots of things going on, and appreciate all of the time, energy, effort you've put in to doing this really important work throughout the year, and really appreciate the question around how do we bring more people in, and would love to hear, maybe not today, but your thoughts about how district-wide we can communicate. So I heard, we need, principals to be reaching out, but is there something we could do at the beginning of the school year, right? We have e-blasts that go out to tens of thousands of families. We have social media. So it'd be great if the DAC could take that on and think about, how district-wide through all of the channels we have, we can really think about thoughtfully, consistently engaging parents and sharing what it is the DAC does and what SSCs do to make sure that that message is consistent, irrespective of the principal or what's happening necessarily at an individual school.
Dr. Whitehurst-Payne.
Thank you, Trustee President Bazo. I want to say that I really want to commend all of you, starting with Tom, because when he first came on board and I first came on board, we were just like clashing. Why can't you get more people here? Why can't we get all the schools represented? Why can't we have more participation? And this is like night and day. And even the board reports, this is a tremendous improvement to have it woven in like this, to have you all on the same page, working towards the same goal. It's just, now we can focus on the important things, like the goals and the data and so forth. So I really want to just commend all of you. And I want to commend you for bringing a real children here, so that we all sitting here can understand what it is for you to participate, having your 3 children here. And I want to say thank you to them as they sit there with their father. Thank you for that. Have to give you kudos, Michael. I commend you for running for the student representative, and I had said that any one of the 5 of you would do a great job. And I appreciate your continuing to work with us, and you're in a critical role because you're going to become Mr. Data, whichever area you're from. But you will focus on that data. I tend to say data. Okay, and thank you for doing that. Dan, I'm proud of you and happy, and I won't tell your secret right now, but I'm not happy about that secret. Richard, we're not happy about that secret. But I just want to say thank you, And the one thing that I would like to see related to this as we progress and go down the pathway is something about the funding. And this may go to our finance people out there. It may be out there, I don't know if it is. But when my community gets into a discussion about the school has all this money, why can't we use it for football rings or for all those things? There are funds for different sources, for different things, and we just need to put it up there on the web in a flashing manner. Funding source, we can't use this money because then we'll all be in trouble. You have to raise your own money for rings and that sort of thing. Just to, not a lot of talk, but just a little bit that flashes at them to say, no, this is Title I money. We can't use it for that, okay? That would help all of us so that we don't have to answer so many questions about why we have money but we don't have money. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Whitehurst-Payne. Trustee Barrera.
Thank you, President Bosler. Yeah, I so much appreciate the work, Crystal and Michael, that you have led over the past, several years, and now to see the expansion of the executive board with Dan and with Ms. Gonzalez, that's fantastic. Go North Park. And I think it's a reflection of that you have prioritized building capacity and building infrastructure over the last several years. That's been your focus. Trustee Whitehurst-Payne is, we know the conversation that's been going on for years and years about how do we get more people involved, how do we get more voice of the Title I schools. And it's just obvious that that's what you're focused on, and whether that's around training or communication or working with principals, it's really appreciated, that focus is there. I was wondering on the communication side. So Dan, you met yesterday with Trustee Whitehurst-Payne and I at Crawford, and with PSRO, and we talked about getting more translation and more accessibility into PowerSchool. I wonder if that has been a topic of DAC discussions, because it seems like to Trustee Hazen's point, our communications infrastructure is only as good as our parents can receive it. And so, so I don't know if that's a topic that you wanted to take on or even talk a little bit about tonight. Yeah.
Well, I know it's come up at DAC meetings, parent portal, just in general.
Yeah.
But the translation piece, I absolutely agree. There should be access that goes along with inclusion, making sure it's inclusive and accessible.
Yeah.
So we'd have to talk about how, what parts of the parent portal, because again, we're trying to really focus on DAC work. What parts of the parent portal are most relevant for the SSEs?
Yes.
And how to make sure that those are accessible is absolutely.
Yes. That's great. That's good. And just the other area that I think would be valuable to all of us, to the community, for the DAC to weigh in on more is around advocacy and around legislation. So and that might be, a partnership with, Enrique and Sierra and our legislative department. Particularly, so the governor has the proposal around equity multiplier. We'd love to hear from the DAC, your perspective on that. We've got, the ongoing debate at the federal level about increases to Title I, and we'd love to hear you weigh in about that as well. So I think you've got a lot to say that, can help us as a community inform the way that we advocate.
We would love that. As you know, about a year ago, we were working with Enrique for the Zoom. We were trying to meet with legislators. We formed a subcommittee. It was me and another board member at the time. And even though at the end of the day, we didn't need to do that because we found a way to hold meetings virtually, it was such a great experience to learn from Enrique and to really be partnering together with that. So we would absolutely love that. I know our members would too, the DAC body.
Yes, I know I do. I want to.
There you go.
Yeah, that's okay. I know I would like to go to your meetings, especially when you're doing the principal trainings or anything that has to do with is that the LCFF? And anything of that sort, because I'm getting a lot of knowledge. And when I know these things, I know what to tell the parent. And I know a lot of parents. So, yeah, and I want to be able to give them the right information. So I got great data over here and good support. I would like to see an invitation sent my way, so keep me in mind.
I just want also to add that on the 31 increment federally, I think that's a good idea. It's a good, it's a blessing for our district moving on. And then I also wanted to stress on, as a committee, one thing that also we'll be pushing for is to make sure the language access is also a priority. And example I want to give, I know Pamela King, she doesn't want to be mentioned. So we just finished 2 new arrival trainings for families, new arrival families in the district, and we speak over 10 languages in those different meetings. It worked because of collaboration between the district and the community, and that was perfect because we intentionally did that to reach out. But for us as a district, I know it's not difficult, it's not easy for the communication department to do all the languages, but the communities do exist that can help reach this family as we build the foundation to support them individually at the schools.
Trustee Cotoriano.
Thank you. This is an amazing presentation. I'm always blown away and astounded by the great work that the DAC does. I think a lot of this conversation that we've had today is kind of focused on engagement and attendance, and that's really important. Engagement of communities, of parents, of staff, and students as well. One of the things that was brought up was how I really loved how a lot of the engagement work was done at the site level, because I agree that every site is different and we need to cater to each of their needs. But again, just from my knowledge, I guess the idea of just working with principals is kind of vague. Do you have maybe more specific examples of some actions that you can take just to fill a few gaps in my knowledge?
I can elaborate on what I was mentioning earlier, and after I said it, I realized it might be an area to work with area superintendents, but I wanted to at least offer a concrete example. Speaking from the UC High perspective, I know that my principal does weekly emails and also does what he calls principal chats, where he goes to different areas in San Diego to meet with families, mainly parents, to discuss what's going on at the school site, what's been successful, what changes are looking to happen, and just making sure there is that foundation of that community. What I had envisioned is making sure we can reach out to principals and identify, do they have an equivalent of that where they are regularly in communication with the families that make up their site, and if they don't, establish that communication. And once the channel of communication is established, to start educating about what is Title I funding, as President Sabrina Bazo had mentioned, to make sure that they understand the importance for their site and to work from there.
Yes, thank you, Michael, for that clarification, but I know staff has already taken notes on that. Board members can certainly work with me on that.
All right. Got all our questions answered? All right. Thank you so much for your presentation this evening. Okay, next, we actually have something we're going to vote on. We will now consider the item G2, approval of reappointments of Charter School Facility Committee representatives, adoption of resolution to expand the purview of the Charter School Facility Committee to include Measure U, and approval of amendment to Charter School Facility Committee. Do we have a motion on item G2? Motion by Trustee Vice President Hazen, and a second by Trustee Pedersen. That's good. Been a little quieter on this side of the room with the emotion. So, all right. So let's go ahead with our students first for voting. Trustee Cotoriano.
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Nepomuceno.
Aye.
Okay. Everyone else. Okay, passes unanimously with students voting concurrently. Okay, next, we are going to be moving to district operations. We'll consider item H1, approval of declaration of the need for fully qualified educators for the 23-24, excuse me. Is there a motion on item H1?
So moved.
So moved. Dr. Whitehurst Payne moved, and trustee Nepomuceno is a second. Okay, let's have the students vote. Go ahead, trustee. Oh, sorry. One question. You can have more than one question.
No, it's just a quick one. So I was just curious, it doesn't have to be answered now, but around the limited assignment permit projections, how this year's projections compare to past years, both in terms of the total number and then the breakdown. So something that stood out to me as a newcomer was, seemed to be a lot of math, science, special ed. Is that typically what we see? Is this year any different than past years?
I would say typical of what has historically been. When you look at hard-to-staff areas, we'll see greater numbers of limited assignment permits, so yes.
All right, with that, I think we're going to have trustee Nepomuceno vote first,
Aye.
and trustee Cotoriano,
Aye.
and everyone else, and voted unanimously with students concurrent. All right, now we are on to items I-1 through I-51. This is the superintendent's consent agenda. The following items were previously withdrawn by staff, I-12, I-30, I-35, and I-46. Do we have a motion on items I-1 through I-51? Okay, motion by trustee Barrera, and I think it was a second by trustee Cotoriano. Let's go ahead and vote. We'll start with you over here, Matthew.
Aye.
And trustee Nepomuceno,
Aye.
and everyone else. Okay, passes unanimously with students voting in concurrence. All right, we're moving right ahead to our non-agenda public testimony, the moment many of you have been waiting for. So we have several, it's been growing as the meeting's been going on. So we're going to have 1 minute each for each of our speakers. So we're going to start with, we have several that want to talk about the Clay Elementary renaming. So I would ask if that's the item you're going to talk about, if you could all come down together and just kind of stand in a line, and we'll take you one by one. And it looks like we're going to start with Jared Tucker. And then it's Sabrina Young is going to be after that. I'm just going to tell you, Brian Jenkins, Denisha Jenkins, Laura Cheschel, Susie James, Eric Anderson, and then Sherry Flowers. So we'll just have you go in that order. Oh, she's virtual, but yes. Okay. So is Jared available? Okay, thank you, Jared. You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Press the gray button. The gray button? All right. Right at the bottom of the mic. Yep.
All right, perfect. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Thank you all for having us here today. First, I did want to present to you our formal proposal for the school name change. Is someone able to get this from me? Or take it up. You take it up? Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. So first, I wanted to start with who I am. My name is Gerard Tucker, and I am a parent of 2 wonderful daughters that attend Clay Elementary School. My oldest has been attending for the last 4 years. She's now in 2nd grade, and my youngest will be starting TK in the fall. We love the school, we love the teachers, we love our administrators. Our experience there has been excellent the entire time that we've been there. But the reason why we're here today is because we are not okay with the name Henry Clay. Henry Clay enslaved 122 men, women, and children over his entire lifetime. And the school was dedicated in 1957, the same year that Robert E. Lee was honored with a school in the same district. When the school was opened, the district allowed none other than the United Daughters of the Confederacy to dedicate the school. For decades, students in this district have been forced to walk into buildings and wear shirts emblazoned with the names of men that would have seen them as less than human, and that needs to stop now. So what we're doing and what we expect is we're calling on the district, we're calling on you to end this shameful practice. We are also calling on the district to pick a restorative name. Having a school or institution named after you is one of the highest honors that can be bestowed upon someone. So to change the school from Robert E. Lee to the generic Pacific View, okay, all right. To change Junipero Serra to the equally generic Canyon Hills, says that if we cannot honor oppressors, if we cannot uphold white supremacy, then we will not honor anyone. We are calling on you to do better moving forward. Also want to talk about how long it has taken for us to even get here to this point. We've been working on this for 6 months. We put in hundreds of hours of volunteer work. We've had 2 local news stories put on ABC and CBS. We've gathered over 1,000 signatures from parents, teachers, neighbors, and community members. We have campaigned at the Rolando Street Fair. We have gone door to door handing out flyers and putting out door hangers. We've hosted 2 town halls, both attended by our school's principal, the second attended by our area superintendent, our communications director, Maureen McGee, and the new head of the naming committee, Gary Patel. We've gathered support from our local Rolando Community Council, and we also have a letter of support from our city council president, Sean Elo Rivera. So now, we hand it over to you. We have presented you with our proposal, and we look forward to your quick reply. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Young. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Clay Elementary and vice president of the Rolando Community Council. We are here, like Gerard said, because we love our community, we love our school, we don't love the legacy of Henry Clay. We brought our initiative this far with no roadmap. To be honest, with very little support from the district. The question we want to put to the board today is who will see this through? It is our hope that there is a board member here today that is brave enough to commit to working toward the renaming of Henry Clay with a name that doesn't just replace or neutralize, but with a name that restores and transforms. Who will it be? Will it be you? I hope it's you. Maybe it will even be all of you.
Thank you. Brian?
Hi, my name is Brian Jenkins, and I'm a father to 2 students at Henry Clay right now. So I want to start off, this effort began 6 months ago with the belief that we could transform our community through the reclamation and restoration of our neighborhood school's name. Our community believes that no child should enter a building named after a man who saw them or their classmates as less than human. While I'm excited to celebrate our achievements in the new community that we have built, I also want to recognize the tremendous amount of social and economic capital that it took to get to this point. Our group has spent hundreds of dollars on t-shirts and posters. We've spent countless hours canvassing the neighborhood, meeting with policymakers, and just going door to door to try building support for this. We've milked every bit of social capital each of us has to get to this point. And this cannot be the process going forward for other communities to do the similar work. We believe that we must work together to reimagine this system so that it's accessible and equitable for all communities in our city. So today I ask the school board to permanently convene the names committee and proactively do this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Denisha Jenkins. I'm a registered nurse with 2 children at Clay. We come here as a moment of celebration for the vision of the future of our community. In a neighborhood plagued by racist covenants and redlining since the early 1950s, we are here to celebrate the stir that has culminated a new heartbeat in our neighborhood. In a dark time in our world, our community is cultivating a hopeful vision of the future. Simultaneously, we have been enlightened to the tremendous gap in competency in many of our teachers and school leaders have related to anti-racism. Dr. Jackson, this moment must emphasize to you and the board that too many people in this district do not appreciate the grave responsibility they have to end the harm that has been perpetuated by this school system since the naming of Henry Clay, the naming of Robert E. Lee Elementary, since Carlin versus SDUSD, and the multiple failures thereafter. We need this board to ignite the fire in the bellies of our educators to restore the humanities in our children and in themselves for our future. We need a standard for anti-racism in SDUSD. Dr. Jackson, we must raise the bar. These are your teachers and your leaders.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Chechel. I'm an advanced practice nurse, and my daughter will be starting TK in the fall at Clay. I am honored to be reading the statement from Council President Sean Elo Rivera. Dear San Diego Unified's board members, I am writing in support of the Not Okay with Clay Community Group's efforts to rename Henry Clay Elementary School, located in Rolando community of San Diego. This parent and teacher organized coalition has amassed over 1,000 signatures of support through a grassroots effort that includes outreach and education at local events, hosting public town halls, and meeting with key decision makers in the community. Henry Clay's name has stood on this building for nearly 70 years, and today I request action to remove this shameful and racist image from our school. Clay's legacy as an enslaver until his death and his compromise to keep slavery in as many territories as possible should disqualify him from being honored on any building in our city. Additionally, we must acknowledge that Henry Clay Elementary's dedication in 1957 occurred during a time where many of the school's neighborhoods enforced a whites-only covenant on home ownership, effectively barring anyone who was not white from purchasing a home in the community. The name effectively signals the same violently racist message today as it did in 1957. Names matter. Who we honor matters. As we move into a new era and work towards a more equitable vision for our community, it is imperative that we right the wrongs of our past. This is why I fully endorse this community's efforts to remove the name of Henry Clay from this building and replace it with a name that is restorative and reflective of the love, kindness, and compassion that occurs every single day behind the walls of this school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm here tonight as a Rolando homeowner and a member of the Clay school family to speak in support of changing the name of Henry Clay Elementary School. We live in a time of great change where we're reckoning with our painful history of racism and oppression. And as a community, we have a responsibility to teach our history, both the good and the bad. It's an important step in creating a more just and inclusive school environment. It's a way of acknowledging our history and acknowledging how the legacy of slavery continues to impact our society today. Changing the name of Henry Clay Elementary School would be sending a clear message that we do not condone slavery or the racism that that name represents. We do not believe in honoring those who profited from slavery. Changing the name of the school would be a positive and healing step for our community. It would send a message that we are committed to creating a more inclusive and welcoming environment. This is a small but important step we must take towards creating a more just and equitable future for all. And I just wanted to say that the reason that I wanted to get involved with this personally is that I used to believe that this was something that was like an issue from like 100 or 200 years ago, and that the effects of slavery and racism were not alive and well in our community. And I looked at the grant deed for the property that I own in this neighborhood where this school is that I love, and the community that I love, and the neighbors that I love. And it said that only white people were allowed there, and that is so heartbreaking to me. And I don't want to have any name that is associated with that in any way attached to the community that I love. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. My name is Eric Anderson. I have no children. I am a neighbor. I live around the corner from the school, and I prepared this. I studied abroad in Ghana, West Africa, when I was in college. In 1995, I spent 3 whole days touring slave castles and burial grounds in Elmina Village, Elmina, Mensa, and Cape Coast. We saw dungeons and loading docks and were voluntarily locked in a room that had a skull and crossbones on it. When I moved to Rolando 20 years later, in 2015, I was taken aback that my post office across the street from Clay Elementary was named after Andrew Jackson, who enslaved 161 souls descended from people who passed through those castles. In June 2020, while monuments around the world were being torn down after George Floyd was murdered, I started a Change.org petition and was quickly invited to be on NBC, CBS, KUSI, and the Union Tribune to speak about renaming the post office. Sarah Jacobs submitted Bill H.R. 9308 in November of last year. It was quickly passed by the House and the Senate and signed by POTUS on December 22nd, and has been renamed. Henry Clay similarly enslaved 122 souls, and I'm happy to join this group of parents and teachers and community members, and hopefully you all, to rename Clay Elementary and Clay Park as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then we have one virtual speaker on this same topic. Is Sherry Flowers available? She is.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Sherry, you have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Cherie, and I'm the mom of a Black and mixed race student. My daughter started in TK at Rowan Elementary, and now she's finishing up her first year of kindergarten at our home school, Henry Clay Elementary. And myself, along with many of the parents speaking on behalf of Clay students today, we actively chose to stay at our home school and hopefully contribute to making it better rather than to choice out to other nearby schools such as Language Academy and Hearst, which is very common in our neighborhood. I'm also lucky enough to be a substitute teacher with a school district here and in my daughter's classroom. I sub at other schools, mid-city schools such as Valencia Park, Choice View, Hardy, and Gage. And I've been able to observe how our schools operate from the inside. There are a lot of great things happening, but of course, room for improvement, especially for underserved populations such as low-income minorities and those with special needs. But Clay specifically is designated a no place for hate campus as well as Title I. And so we need to live up to the designation with actual actions. I support the Henry Clay name change and also the name change of the adjoining park, Clay Park. And also just to put a focus on the language and linguistics we use in the classroom settings in general, and addressing them and talking to students about and teachers about what language we use in the classroom that reinforces sometimes those negative narratives. So thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, we have next is Noah La Madrid. Is Noah available? I think you have 1 minute. And then while Noah's getting ready to come up, we also have Rose Bella and Marie Susanna after him from Paradise Hills Elementary. If you can just make your way up to the front and you can just sit behind Noah. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Noah La Madrid. I'm the athletic trainer at San Diego High School. The topic I wanted to bring to attention today is the lack of availability to the athletes, to the athletic trainers at our high schools in the district. Each of our athletic trainers are currently working on a 1,100-hour contract, which broken down throughout the weeks of the school year is 27.5 hours a week. In a given season, this allotment of hours barely is enough time to cover game coverage alone. This leaves the district liable with any incident that may occur that would otherwise be covered by the ATC during the remaining hours of high school sports that fall outside of our contract hours. The San Diego Unified School District Athletics mission statement states in the first sentence that SDUSD is committed to excellence in athletics, and it's followed by a statement of commitment to physical and emotional well-being and the exertion of best effort. If we are to consider these statements true, how are we as a district supposed to compete with other schools in the county if athletes are getting injured in their sports and are unable to return to participation quickly because of the lack of availability to the athletic trainer. Yet our counterparts in districts are working on full-time contracts. Are our athletes supposed to suffer because we as a district cannot do what is becoming status quo for not only the county but the state? Studies show that the presence alone of an athletic trainer in secondary schools decreases the injury rate among athletes, especially in reoccurring injuries.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Rose Bella from Paradise Hills Elementary, or about.
She'll start. I'll start. All right, good evening, board members and Dr. Lamont Jackson. My name is Tess Susanna, and this is Rose Bella, and we are here to represent our small but mighty community of Paradise Hills Elementary. We have two reasons for being here tonight. Our first reason is to support our colleagues, Ariana Karamat and Stephanie No. They are both new teachers in the first year of their 2-year probationary period and new to our school site this year. The second is for our prep time teacher, Craig Valimas. In reference to our two new teachers, Ms. No and Ms. Karamat, our current principal, Sky Alua, made the decision in February 2023 to dismiss or fire them. But in the past 3 years, Ms. Alua consistently showed a lack of effective leadership and poor decision-making. Due to her leadership ability or lack thereof, she is no longer at our site. Principal Alua's decision to dismiss Ms. Karamat and Ms. No was one of the many bad decisions our principal made during her time at our school. Facing being fired, Ms. Karamat and Ms. No submitted resignations effective June 30th, 2023. Meanwhile, they continue to teach at Paradise Hills Elementary with passion, professionalism, and love for the students.
Thank you.
Our staff feels strongly that Ms. Karamat and Ms. No are great teachers who were not given a fair chance to be supported and time to improve the skills and abilities that our principal based her decision on. Since Principal Alua's departure, 2 retired principals and our current area superintendent have interacted, observed, and gathered staff input on Ms. Karamat and Ms. No and have nothing but glowing accolades for both. Parents have also expressed their support for Ms. Karamat and Ms. No, as you will see in the petition signed by them and other members of our community. Currently, we have 70 signatures. We've appealed to our area superintendent for help, and now we are asking you for help. We want human resources to allow Ms. Karamat and Ms. No to withdraw their resignations in lieu of dismissal that they submitted, and to allow them to continue to teach at Paradise Hills. With the shortage of teachers, those two would be an incredible asset to any school, but especially to Paradise Hills Elementary.
Thank you.
Mr. Valimas has been at Paradise Hills for 12 years. This is about our prep time teacher, Craig Valimas. Each year, Paradise Hills Elementary is bundled with another school to meet 100% of the contract. Each year, he chooses to bid on the PE position at Paradise Hills because, according to him, at any time at Paradise Hills Elementary is better than full-time at any other school. Next year, the district is taking away 10%, making it a 90% position. If the district does not change this, Mr. Valimas will be forced to leave what he calls the one place I call home. Our school may be small, but we are mighty. We fight for what we believe in and what is right for our school, our staff, and especially our children. We ask you, we implore you, please help us keep our 2 new teachers, Ms. No and Ms. Karamat, and please help us keep our beloved coach. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Amy Mullins-Boychuk, followed by Norris Hill. If you want to make your way up to the podium, and we'll have 1 minute each, please.
Not one single person in this room is against restorative practices. No loving parent or adult ever wants to see a child fail or be unlawfully put in jail. Most parents want their children to do better and be better than themselves. They want their children to be successful in life, and success comes from accountability, structure, boundaries, discipline, and parent involvement. None of the essentials for success are included in your restorative discipline policy. In fact, San Diego Unified has failed at properly training and implementing this policy and have ensured its failure. Those are the things that make it successful. And we want it to be successful. But the things that we are against is a loaded BB gun brought on campus and threatened students with it. Unprovoked assaults are what we are against. We are against countless safety plans and no contact contracts for a single student for a single year. How many can you have? Before action is taken, I have begged you to intervene on this student's behalf because I am scared for this offender. I am worried about this offender. This offender has now assaulted someone else last week. And now that offender, brand new 12-year-old, has their name sitting on the desk of the Juvenile District Attorney's Office.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm a father of a wonderful son at Stanley Middle School. As some of you may know, in January, my son was attacked. The student that attacked him, I'll give you a quick rundown, has brought a butterfly knife to school, researched guns and how to kill kids on her laptop during class, brought a gun to school, assaulted multiple kids verbally, has vaped, brought alcohol on campus, cracked open a pencil sharpener and took the blade and threatened to cut 2 kids, and then cut herself to show that she was serious. And then, just this last week, slapped 2 smaller children on campus during school. Now, your restorative practices, I've watched you guys sit up here and applaud yourselves about all the accolades, about sending buses to Haiti and about all these wonderful programs, but this policy is failing, and it's failing horribly. I actually brought the BB gun. I brought a copy of it. I went to Dick's and bought it in a plastic bag. But ironically, and almost hypocritically, the officers wouldn't allow me to bring it in to show you because the weight and the look of it is, and it's made by Glock.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Nicole Berg. Is Nicole available? And as she's coming up, I'm going to call up Emily Jones, and then Isel Martinez, and then Sarah Roos after her. So if you can just kind of make your way up to the front, so you'll be ready to go.
Hi, Nicole Berg. I have 2 kids, Miles Berg, who's 3 and in preschool, and Leo Berg in UTK. I'm here about my younger one. Cody, you might recognize my name from emails, and you actually reached out and spoke to me, and I really appreciated that. My son attended Alcott when he was 2. They did not have a space for him when he turned 3. So while my older one is at PB Elementary, my younger one is in Normal Heights at Adams Elementary. He is not receiving the education that he deserves. He has regressed since being there. I received a report that has no scores for him after being there for 2 months because they say he's still exploring the classroom when he was engaged in learning in his previous classroom. So I've reached out to Dr. Bagula, who has been very, very helpful, but I feel like I'm stalled. I just want a classroom in my neighborhood for him. And seeing that you have opened 54 UTKs with another 23, one at Sessions, is just heartbreaking. These UTK kids, yes, my son is there. I love UTK, it's great. But my 3-year-old has legal rights, and he is nonverbal, and he came home with a gash on his face, and his glasses bumped him, but his glasses didn't bump him. It took a week, it's still not healed. I don't know what's going on, and I just want a neighborhood spot, and the fact that Sessions is opening, oh, sorry, one more thing. His private school, we pulled him out of because we can't afford it. They sent out an email that both schools are owned by San Diego Unified, and that's why they're raising tuition. So I've been told over and over there's no location, but now it's 2 preschools that are owned by you guys, one of which my son attended, I have to pull from. And the second is that Sessions is opening in the second UTK, but my 3-year-old still has nowhere to go.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Emily Jones.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm a substitute teacher with San Diego Unified. I've heard of a possible voting in July coming up of reducing the current substitute pay rate as it's been raised for COVID. But currently, this is what I survive on to pay my bills. I can barely pay the gas that I use to get to each school. And if you were to reduce it back to what it was, that would be barely above minimum wage. So what did I have all these student loans for?
just wanted to add a quick bit of economic context, which is that since 2020, inflation has increased by 17.5%, and that is the general inflation rate, which is actually understating the cost of living because the cost of transportation, fuel, living, and food have increased proportionately more than the prices of other goods. So maintaining even just that increase is barely just staying even with what wages were in 2020.
Thank you. Isa?
Hi, everyone. Again, Isel Martinez, CSCA San Diego Paraeducator President. I'm also going to put on my actual CSCA State Association hat on right now. I am the San Diego Area K representative for research and negotiations. So I represent San Diego's negotiations representative for CSCA. As my role as president, I represent 3,000 paraeducators who right now are struggling to make ends meet, are struggling to pay medical bills, are struggling to figure out whether they're gonna put food on the table or gas in their car to go to work. Earlier I mentioned about visiting us at our work site to see what we do on a daily basis. There are moments and days where I'm on the phone with people saying, Izzy, I've been hurt, and I don't know how I could keep going, and I still need this job. I still need the medical benefits. I don't know what to do. So I'm imploring you all, help us get a close contract that gives us something valuable, that gives us that sense of belonging. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Royce. I'm the head athletic trainer at La Jolla High School. I've been there now this is my second year. On average, the San Diego Unified School District schools have about 27 varsity level sports a year. San Diego Unified has also announced that we'll be adding flag football in the fall of 2023. Even under the best efforts of the athletic trainers, we fall short on being able to cover all events, practices, film time, weight room, and games with the 1,100 hours that are allotted to us through the contract as it is stipulated, and it will move forward next year, forcing us to be selected towards the athletes who have had the highest injury potential risk. If we look at the coverage of football alone in the fall, if a team had a 2-hour practice 4 days a week, we can equate that to a minimum of 22 hours of athletic trainer coverage due to pre-practice treatment, rehabilitation, taping, and post-practice care, including weekly game coverage, leaving maybe 5 hours for multiple volleyball, field hockey, tennis, water polo, cross-country competitions in the week, let alone our winter and spring seasons that also follow suit. The district is liable for any treatment and care of injuries that could occur once the athletic trainer has hit their allotted hours for the week. So I'm asking you to please consider the impact of signing an insufficient and unsuitable contract that you guys will be signing at the end of this month with AT Vantage in the future with the athletic trainers you guys have in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And one more online, we have Heidi Harms. Is Heidi available? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks, Heidi.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, San Diego Unified announced that it's closing iHigh Academy without clear reason, clarification, or any community input. Our family was informed out of the blue on Friday that our school will be closed next year, and our 6th through 12th grade students must now scramble to find new schools to attend. Our families chose iHigh because it offers specifically what our children need. It offers live virtual instruction, which is not available at any other campus in the district. iHigh's program gives students the same quality daily instruction with high-level teachers as in-person learning, but with a virtual system that supports each family's needs. Our kids are thriving in this program. While we were told that there are going to be independent study options in the district, there is no current plan for middle school students at all. An independent study is not an equitable education option for our children. None of the potential options for the future offer the same live virtual instruction as iHigh. My children must now choose between options that are not designed for their success. So who made this decision? How did it get past the district's own policies for school reconfigurations and closures? Where was the community advisory committee? Where was the involvement of all stakeholders, including staff and families, in this decision? Why were our families abruptly thrown out of the one educational option that worked for our children without any input at all?
Thank you.
Please reconsider this decision. Our family needs this live virtual school option to continue, and it is not okay that you did this without any input from the
Okay, and do we have one more? Okay, I just have a first name, Tori.
Hi, my name is Tori Penick. I have a freshman and a junior at San Diego High. Wanted to advocate a little bit for the athletic trainers that have helped my family personally. Due to the lack of immediate health care that we are able to get in our healthcare system, NOAA has been imperative to the recovery of my daughter in some of her sports injuries. I also wanted to draw attention today that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Just wanted to bring attention to a study done by Newport Academy published in 2021 about the effects of mental health with sports. Endorphins bring and help reduce the stress, anxiety, depression, and suicidal behavior amongst athletes. And I wanted to know what the answer was if we are asking athletic trainers to sacrifice their time with their families with lack of pay, or if we're asking for our students to suffer and not have any coverage for injuries.
Thank you.
And as Dr. Jackson alluded to earlier, just the celebration of your team together and the teachers coming and going, just everybody around. It's the same commitment that they bring every day, as just like the teachers, but have that commitment to say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're coming every day. We trust in them as well and in their care. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you all for providing your comments to the board and the superintendent today, and we appreciate your input. And please know that your perspectives help us to better serve our students, parents, and our community. This concludes the agendized business of the board. A special classified employee celebration will be held on May 23rd. The next regular meeting will be held on May 30th, 2023. This meeting is now adjourned.